My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence, that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. Alrighty, I'm documenting gang stalking. The Ontario International Airport is stalking with the people of the state. MS Heart MIA is coming around the back way. You already know there's impossible light activity. She's a demon gang stalking, which they are every morning, coming from 537. Leonida's light activity. This is Tracy the stalker, and this is Jason Isaac Field's sex partner, posing a threat as an entity, listening to the podcast, listening to what it is that I'm publishing, and then coming and engaging in stalking my presence. Doing so at ARCO, that's gang stalking. This is not coincidental presence, and it's a threat posed posed by the same demons conspiring murder together, gang stalking together. 8SMG325 is gang stalker with Tracy Banks, 9HUZ740, and this demon, 6353284, and the ARCO employee targeting me with the Ontario Police. The same pattern of conduct. Tracy Banks is representing an unlawful threat as the entity, targeting together, being a stalker like she has been, like I stated at the outset of my investigation. 9TIH520, just coming to fill up gas, doing so under the fake sun where the entity is stalking with impossible light while she's gang stalking on camera at the intersection when I'm there as well. Gang stalking at the OVITT Family Community Library where they're stalking under a fake sun that remained from this block till what is C Street yesterday, where the entity, she's engaged in surveillance, and this is an unlawful threat posed by these demons that are gang stalking with Tracy. They're co-conspirators to murder. 02173P3, co-conspiring murder, doing so with demons that are stalking with light while the entity is stalking in the parking lot. This same parking lot where the fake sun remained all day long over the downtown luxury apartments. Tracy Banks is engaged in that P.O.C. In doing so, I want to be clear with regard to the pattern of conduct that's having her committed and convicted. Her acts of defamation with the City of Ontario, the Ontario Police, the people of the state, engaging what is having the OVITT Family Community Library as being molesting a child when she's a pedophile, when she's a stalker, when she's the one that's engaged in federal stalking, looking to the left and right like every other demon that's gang stalking me, a psychopath, gang stalking with Ontario, kidnapping with them together. Because this is what she was doing at Woodside Senior Apartments, gang stalking with the Ontario Police and the Ontario International Airport that also don't have any flights here taking off, nor over her apartment complex, Woodside Senior Apartments, where I'm documenting the fake sunrise and set. She's targeting with Leonidas. She's targeting with the demons that I'm documenting at El Pescado, at G Street and Euclid, where the entity is stalking with planes as well. And they just included Tracy Banks in their criminal pattern of conduct. I've already shown you that Mike LORENZ and Alan D. WAPNER, the Ontario Board, they share in conspiracy to murder. And that is while they're engaging in gang stalking. And that's exactly what this is. This is P.O.C. And she's doing so while I'm uploading the podcast. And so is her sex partner, Jason Isaac Fields. This is a psychopath. This is okay. Coming in, when filling up my gas tank, I'm in the library. I'm just in the library. I just wanted to know if you were, I'm just driving by. Doing so in the specific environment, doing so as I refer to her license plate. Don't forget the documentation at 415 North Euclid Avenue where the fake sun is rising. And the moment that I mention her license plate, the demon pulls up beside me at 415 North Euclid Avenue. And the demons are not helping each other while they're gang stalking together. The City of Ontario is being gutted out for conspiring my murder with Tracy Banks, gang stalking me with Tracy Banks. Tracy Banks isn't going to prison by herself. The Ontario Board is going to be prosecuted for terrorism because they've engaged in terrorizing me and conspiring my murder in concert with this witch. But they're all engaged in the same demonic pattern of conduct. I'm not the first family member that the City of Ontario has targeted on behalf of some other demon that's a part of the same cult as them. Okay, it's currently, by the way, 7:24 a.m. This is federal stalking, and this is occurring under the guise of what is nothing other than a third party whose name I know. 9HUZ740 represents an unlawful threat. And this is P.O.C. There is nothing. Eric Spencer engaged in the same stalking, pulling up, haven't talked to them, haven't called them. I didn't tell them, hey, I'm over here. I don't care how small the city is. You're engaging in what is the pattern of conduct, and they all know where I'm at under the fake sun. They're monitoring my vagina, and so is this sex offender, Tracy Banks. Stalking in the path, stalking as an entity, engaging in what is a terrorizing threat while conspiring my murder, engaging in attempted murder, and targeting with the same City of Ontario. That's ARCO that's threatening together. This is the P.O.C. It's not different. It's all these demons that are targeting together, and Tracy Banks just planted herself in the middle of it. That's showing the ongoing conspiracy to commit murder as well. They're gang stalking together. While she's present, like you see now, and even while she's absent, it's the same entity, P.O.C. It is currently 7:25 a.m. Alrighty, this is P.O.C. This is the second demon coming over to ARCO. I guess Tracy and Eric are calling them, and engaging in stalking is supposed to make you appear as though you're a paranoid schizophrenic while they're actually stalking. This is the demons that are stalking the City of Ontario, stalking all day long under the fake sun, covering it up is the same P.O.C. Tracy coming, engaging in stalking, listening to my podcast, coming, anticipating a federal court case where they're trying to make sense of all the defamation that they committed, and this is stalking under the law. Okay, they're the third party entity. These are not family members that have your best interest at heart. License 9SNY941 coming up, and it is also monitoring while I'm on the operation. So he's both engaged in federal stalking, but this is where the City of Ontario is gang stalking with Eric Spencer. Okay, pulls up on me out the Ontario town square, didn't say anything to me about it, is engaging in the pattern of conduct with the City of Ontario in furtherance of murder, and is engaging in what is the P.O.C. with the same entity that I'm documenting all day and all night. The Ontario Police terrorizing by helicopter. Eric Spencer is participating in that unlawful criminal conduct after his demon-possessed gang-stalking mother does the same. They are conspiring together. These are all co-conspirators of murder. Stalking in the past, stalking with light, stalking on behalf of the entity using planes and helicopters. Doing so, stalking through a whole population and stalking with the police department is committed in furtherance of murder. And that's the true intentions of Eric Spencer and Tracy Banks. Okay, 8TPB 590, not helped by Eric Spencer, incriminated. 8SMG 325, co-conspirators of murder, license plate. 9ALR 656, the pattern of conduct doesn't change. It's more of a threat while the demons are stalking you with the police, while the demons are gang stalking you with those who are in your family or in your social circle, because that's what the government is using with regard to trying to defame your character and be in your presence, be in your social circle with regard to defaming you, because that's exactly what Tracy and Eric did. While being in my face, that audible activity, I love you, Erica, it's audible noise in the engineered environment. No, you don't when the fake sun is over me at your apartment and you're criminally summoning the gang stalkers of the Ontario Police and you're lying about medication and mental illness when you are exhibiting mental illness, stalking me day and night. This is the pattern of conduct. You are already aware that the fake sun remained over this same parking lot at 7 in the morning right here, at 11 in the morning right here, at 12:49 in the afternoon here. And where's the Ontario International Airport stalking? Flying over this apartment building. I'm going to prosecute Sarah's Regis. They're a gang stalking apartment community. And every demon residing in there, covered in engineered light. Molesting with engineered light. The pattern of conduct does not bear any sort of reflection poorly on any American citizen, and it certainly does not me. And the entity has engaged in what is failing to sacrifice me, conspiring my murder. It resulted in what is exposing terrorism in the United States, where a population of demons, you're not forgetting that evidence when Eric Spencer comes into my presence. You're not forgetting the impossible light activity dancing on the roof at Starbucks yesterday morning when Tracy Banks is driving by, stalking in the path. And you're not ignorantly in that environment. You have scores and scores of demons while the entity is having a field day following me around literally in helicopters and kidnapping me while making up the fact that I'm harassing one of them while they're gang stalking me. And I don't even have to talk to them for them to stalk me. And I don't have to talk to them to document them either. But they are engaged in what is harassment and targeting in that manner because they're hostile to being documented. EF83X31 is a demon monitoring with Eric Spencer in furtherance of murder, creating light activity in the path. Where you saw the Ontario International Airport is stalking. There are no planes taking off miles away from the airport, from Terminal 2 or 4, hovering over the ARCO or the downtown luxury apartments. There's also no sunrise that would also coexist with the sunset at this same parking lot. But that's what's on the evidence, where Leonida is gang stalking me in furtherance of murder with Tracy Banks and Eric Spencer. All they did was inject themselves into the P.O.C. this morning. That's all they did. Like I stated, it's an entity, and I've been documenting them the entire time, and it goes for her sex partner, Tracy Banks' sex partner, Jason Isaac Fields. The entity is engaging in what is some sort of field test. Jason Isaac Fields coming into my presence is an lawful threat as well, and he's subject to the same treatment under the law. He's going to prison. They sat in court and defamed my character. They sat in court and lied and stated that there's something wrong with me and there's nothing wrong with me because I separated myself from them, which you're going to do when the government is targeting you, which is no figment of any American citizen's imagination. And now you're stuck because now what you're doing is stalking. Because you're no longer a family member, you are identified under the law as a third party. And you don't have that convenience, that ability to be in my close presence anymore. And you want to claim that it's mental illness as to why I'm prosecuting you, and it's not. In fact, my prosecution and investigation directly rebuts your criminally defamatory speech. I'm going to prosecute for that. That's called malice. And I want to be clear that close timetable, Eric Spencer and then Tracy Banks and Eric Spencer, very closely in time. That was planned. Okay, and they're stalking. So this is the entity that thinks gang stalking with Eric Spencer and Tracy Banks is going to make you look like, and it doesn't. Gang stalking me under the fake sun with engineered light, it does not defame your character. Gang stalking as a population, when you're the demon stalking with planes and helicopters, that does not bear poorly on the targeted individual under any circumstances. Injecting Eric Spencer and Eric Corey Spencer is confirming that you are indeed a third party acting in conformity with the pattern of conduct which is committed in furtherance of murder. Gang stalkers are going to be prosecuted as what they are, co-conspirators to murder. This is P.O.C. None of it changes the fake sun being over me from sunrise until sunset. That does not reflect poorly on any American citizen, let alone do the demons, the high school graduates, these imbeciles that happen to be blood related to me, which they didn't think about when they thought that they were going to successfully sacrifice me. But for my investigation showing that they're targeting in the shoes of the state, that's targeting me through them, you're going to federal prison. It is currently 7:34 a.m. This is P.O.C. at ARCO, 434 North Euclid Avenue, stalking and monitoring and threatening me with the Ontario Police, with the Ontario International Airport, with Tracy Banks and Eric Corey Spencer, in furtherance of the conspiracy to commit murder, and their employee license 9TIH 520, criminally facilitating that threat as an entity, P.O.C. Alrighty, this is the entity that's stalking just like they were out all night at the Ontario Town Square. And the moment that I walk north, that's when they fly north of the Ontario Town Square. They're doing so in the specific environment, stalking in the path with all manner of light. You've seen these demons stalking with impossible light. They are stalking in the path with light while they're maintaining presence. And you are maintaining presence where the government surveillance. This is the element of audible activity and crossing paths, stalking as the government. And the pattern of conduct of stalking by the airport is including the fact that there are no published flights that are going to result in what is a takeoff from the airport at 2500 Airport Drive and results in what is hovering over Lemon Avenue as though you're taking off miles away from those terminals. In addition to that, it is in the specific environment which defies nature. The entities engaging in what is the presence of the fake sun covering it up this morning is not causing you to forget what was just documented yesterday. It's not the natural environment. In the same way, when a demon is moving their car and light is shooting across the way, when they're driving on the street, where the same street is, I'm showing you the fake sun is rising and setting, where it's rising in alignment to me, and in the middle of the day, it's over the top of my head. This is that street. This is that parking lot. That is that airport that's gang stalking. And this is exactly where Eric Spencer and Tracy Banks engage in the pattern of conduct with the same exact pool of defendants, the people of the state, which is the unlawful threat that they pose coming into my presence. The entity did not bet that they were going to be investigated and exposed as terrorists in the United States when they conspired, like the government has many times before, targeting an American citizen, defaming their character, and stealing their money and property and identity, which is what Tracy Banks has done. What they are not speaking of is the fact that there is a pending criminal case. While they're trying to come up with explanations why Tracy Banks and Eric Spencer defamed my character, while they're part of what is every kidnapping that I was subject to by the city of Ontario, including that Ontario International Airport, that's stalking over the ARCO, over the downtown luxury apartments parking lot. And they're on this side because they're stalking. When I'm at the Ontario Town Square, they're over there stalking. No flights are hovering throughout the city perpetually, like I'm showing, including in the specific environment, which is maintained. The specific environment is proof of what is targeting, which is shown in the environment. Covering it up does not deviate from that exact same pattern of conduct. That's P.O.C. That is the P.O.C. And the demons that are harassing, stalking with light, the entities engaging the harassment, engaging what is calling me out of my name and cursing me and engaging what is battering me at Wells Fargo. That's Tracy Banks and Eric Spencer. It's the same entity. Gang stalking with the Ontario police at the end of that video with helicopter. That's Tracy Banks and Eric Spencer, the same entity. Stalking with the demons driving fire trucks. That's light activity. The entity is engaging in all manner of surveillance. And the entity is doing so as one that does not have to refer to you. 1728466, Paul Leon's being removed from office for criminal surveillance that's underway in the city of Ontario, and it's in furtherance of murder. That's P.O.C. License 9EFG412, everybody going up to use the fire to means of presence in the path. The entity is engaging what is the pattern of conduct, the CHEVRON, the ARCO, don't forget the fake sun in the city of Ontario that's engaging in gang stalking with the people of the state, committing kidnappings with Eric Spencer and Tracy Banks, and they're monitoring now with the entity that's stalking as an airport. Eric Spencer, Tracy Banks, and those kidnappers are going to prison. Okay, coming and engaging in that was very foolish conduct, and it's not going to help them in federal court. This is P.O.C. 17533512 with stalking and threatening with the police. 7YSE321 stalking and threatening with the police. 8NSV 816 8NSW 816 stalking and threatening with the police, just like they are when they're stalking by helicopter while I'm uploading, and these demons are stalking in the middle of the night in engineer light under the fake moon and monitoring my evidence that I'm uploading onto the internet, engaging in what is surveillance. The Ontario police is being disbanded. Kidnappers with Eric Spencer and Tracy Banks, they're going to prison, and so is Tracy and Erica. Tracy and Eric. They're going to federal prison regarding what is the pattern of conduct. Okay, that's the entity that's engaged in this P.O.C., and they're doing so while the city of Ontario is gang stalking. That is engaged in what is criminal surveillance, deviating from takeoffs that are also not published, as I've shown you the ways in which you are looking at identifying targeting by a corrupt municipality like the city of Ontario. That's P.O.C. It is currently, again, 7:44 a.m. There's no coincidences with regard to surveillance. The Ontario police being on this path, just like they are when they're engaged in harassment with a gang stalker that's cussing me out and engaging in battery on behalf of the city of Ontario. At the end of that video, the entity is stalking by helicopter, flying over me, stalking in the path by engaging in surveillance. Remember, this isn't traffic. That's exactly what the Ontario police did just now. They know every word that I uttered about them. And then they engage in gang stalking. That's exactly what Tracy Banks and Eric Spencer are a part of. And communicating an unlawful threat, they're going to prison. This is P.O.C. All right, the videos that you just listened to, this is pursuant to ongoing monitoring. P.O.C. literally is a demon, has a demon operating the truck. The images of gang stalking by P.O.C. is captured. In operation of their communication device, engaged in Title 18 federal stalking, is engaging what is the performance of a delivery, which is simultaneous engagement in criminal presence, audible activity, and light activity. And this is a Latino male. The license plate is 4RJ6389, gang stalking at what is 8:56 a.m. and that's Chevron, the same Chevron that you see the fake sun over me in the morning, the afternoon, and in the evening. We're the same gang stalking Ontario International Airport in the presence of the co-conspirators of my murder, Tracy Banks and Eric Spencer, are gang stalking at this ARCO and Chevron while the demons are engaging in that pattern of conduct in real time and communicating a threat when their audible activity is, do you want this and do you want that? And I love you, Erica, while the entity is engaged in simultaneous terrorism by virtue of their presence. It's not the substance of the speech. It is the content regarding the purpose, the malice of that presence. The entity is very much engaged in smiling in your face and serving you coffee while gang stalking you in that specific environment. Look at Starbucks, okay? It's the P.O.C. The entity is engaging in that together. That's what's relevant regarding the videos that you just listened to. Pepsi is engaged in criminal facilitation. It's a co-conspirator to murder, and I will be prosecuting every company in California engaging in it as I've exposed the criminal surveillance system, and doing so with regard to kidnappers that are Tracy Banks and Eric Spencer. This system relies on defaming your character where the government's committing surveillance and then conspiring murder, and doing so with regard to defamation is key to your murder while the entity will blame you for your death. Okay, this is the entity that's engaged in blatant stalking, as I've proven it at the same time, and so that's where that case falls apart. The entity's been stalking the entire time and necessarily is delusional because the case for targeting is directly it's overridden, overshadowed by the state's targeting me, which is proven, and the entity is engaged in what is an outdated and expired tactic, as I've shown you. They merely rely on the government being believed because it's the government, and the government stating it, and so that's supposed to be the way it is, but it's not when the entity is engaged in corruption, as I've shown, engaged in targeting, and it's also supernatural. That is immediately suspect. The fact that a sun is rising and setting on Euclid Avenue, that is giving you pause to look at everything that I'm exposing to you, and the entity looking in substance at the entity that's engaged in trying to defame my character, which you are necessarily going to have to do to try to steal my money and property in a courtroom where it's not going to be forgotten while you try to engage in that outdated tactic. No legitimate federal court is going to miss the fact, well, where was Erica Spencer? Where was I when you were claiming that I'm so crazy and I'm such a crackhead? Where was I? You could have dragged me in, and that would have given you proof right there that I was incompetent and I was incapable of taking care of my property. But where was I? Oh, yeah, the federal court will see, and the federal court already knows that I've been on the streets in the field documenting targeting by the state that's been lying on my character, the state that's stalking and obsessing over me and wanting to steal from me while simultaneously trying to frame me for being one that's not capable of maintaining my own money and property. That's directly rebutted by gang stalking me on the job, directly rebutted by gang stalking me everywhere that I'm going, which is what I'm showing. And gang stalking is also relevant to what is mental illness that entity suffers from. These are demons on top of that, proven by their own behavioral pattern, including being in my face and trying to feign as though everything else has been forgotten, like you did not call the police and lie on me that I attacked you. Like you did not call the police and lie and state all of a sudden after I haven't spoken to you, which I don't have to speak to you, and especially I'm not going to speak to you when you're targeting me. You just don't like the fact that I knew that you were targeting me and there was no evidence of it. I gathered that evidence of it. And because you have the ability to do that, that is no evidence of mental illness. The evidence is showing there's no imagination whatsoever. The entity thought that they were going to defame someone that is spiritually gifted as being mentally ill. It doesn't work when you have the evidence, honey. If I was making allegations that there was no evidence, there would be a different conversation. That's what happens to the ordinary target individual. I'm advocating on behalf of that person's position. 8LQZ141. Gang stalking. The entire operation underway in the presence of Eric Spencer and Tracy Banks today. Leonida, you already know they're gang stalking. The city of Ontario, gang stalking. The entity is engaged in stalking in the most pathetic manners, in bathroom stalls, in coffee shops, through drive-thrus, at the gas station, in traffic, at a fake church. 8ROH142, 4C29351. Leonidas surrounding with light activity, and I want to document the entities maintaining ongoing aerial surveillance, serial flight over the parking lot of ARCO, just like they were engaging yesterday. Serial flight over Ontario Town Square. Did not deviate from until the moment that I moved. And I moved at after 9 o'clock. That's when I capture on video stalking, following where I go. They're not flying over north of me when I'm remaining at Ontario Town Square. They're not flying north of me when I'm at the ARCO. They're not flying south beyond the Ontario Downtown Square. The Ontario Town Square, and I combine the downtown luxury apartments, that's what that is. They're not flying north of that. excuse me, well, not north of that, but they're not flying beyond that. They're maintaining presence right next to me, moving in the direction that I move. The gang stalker with planes moves north as I go north, moves south as I go south. And it's also shown to be stalking because they do it where a fake sun is shining over me, rising and setting. So when I'm taking screenshots to remind you about the environment that Eric and Tracy are in while they are stalking by definition. That's not a mom and a brother. Those are third parties. Those are state actors. And the entity has a bad plan with a conspiracy that is proven while they're engaging in the P.O.C. and thought that they could be in your presence. No gang stalking family member is ever going to be some superseding point of evidence on a government that's trying to target an American citizen. It's not going to work, but that's the plan that the entity had. All right, and it's blowing up in front of everyone. The entity is engaging in what is using a tractor trailer right now. That's a demon with light activity and audible noise under the fake sun. That is over the parking lot. The same parking lot where Eric Spencer and Tracy Banks are gang stalking with the Ontario International Airport and the Ontario Police Department like they are every other day, every single day. No one forgot the entity is stalking me by helicopter the moment that I'm documenting Julia Gu and Jim Bowman and Kurt Hagman and Alan D. Wapner and Ronald Leverage. You're stalking me by helicopter. Okay, you're doing so as I'm uploading the evidence. You're engaging in surveillance online, in other words, and you terrorize and stalk me using helicopter, the scariest thing that you can fathom, okay, while I document an ongoing pattern of that, an unmistakable pattern, and a very specific and unique one to me, because I capture what is supernatural happening around me as well. A sunrise and a sunset at the same location. Because that's not the sun. That's not the sun. That's not the behavior of the sun. It's not even sunlight when these demons who are the city of Ontario and the people of the state are in that environment and light is shooting all around, shoots inside of buildings when you're outside on the road, creates multiple shadows, light swiping in buildings, swiping outside of buildings, reaching across. You see this light activity? They're monitoring. Eric Spencer and Tracy Banks are in that same environment. The entity is always relying on you to have a very short-sighted memory, being very not only forgetful, but also looking at what's happening just right now and not looking at the totality of circumstances, which is, again, that's not how any case is ever conducted or competently handled at all. You're looking at what just happened yesterday. So the entity that's engaged in kidnapping me on September 20th and lying, talking about I'm harassing somebody, that's not forgotten when I'm in Tracy Banks' apartment and she is lying as well, stating that I'm attacking her. This is a pattern by this entity that's targeting me also in helicopter. None of these things are separate. It's all relevant to a pattern of conduct of targeting. And you foolishly come into my presence so that everyone can see your image as you target your own daughter, as you target your own sister, that you conspired to murder. And you thought that she wasn't going to have evidence to prove that you are a maniacal psychopath, an incestuous sex offender, obsessed with her vagina, failing in your witchcraft, and trying to maliciously defame her character so you could walk away with her money and go to her funeral and fake cry about it. That's what Eric and Tracy planned to do. And it blew up in their face, and everybody gang stalked. That's the state of California. They're going down with them. And these fools did it while the same gang stalking airport, the same gang stalking police department are engaging in that P.O.C. together. It doesn't get any more idiotic than that. And in addition to that, you're not forgetting that the entity is engaging in what is stalking on an ongoing ceaseless basis. So what do you have here? More confirmation about what I told you was happening in the first place? So Eric Spencer and Tracy Banks come into my face. That's an audacious threat, and they're going to prison for that. American citizens are not going to be subject to that sort of impunity. That's what the Ontario police are doing. You're stalking me 4 times in the day. You're stalking me in the morning at Ontario Town Square. You're stalking me in the afternoon at the OVITT Family Community Library. You're stalking me in the afternoon at the Ontario Town Square. You're stalking me at night at 537 North Euclid Avenue. And you're stalking me in the middle of the night when you're hostile, when you sit around thinking about how I'm telling everybody that they're HIV infected because their sex rituals resulted in them garnering that spirit of death, being infected with HIV. They're mad and embarrassed because I tell them, because I publish the evidence about them. While they're stalking, it doesn't matter what I'm stating. The federal court is going to look at what is the police department doing at all, and I'm capturing the evidence. I can't control that police department, and a federal court knows that. I don't control those outside circumstances, but what I am subject to, I'm documenting it. And only delusional psychopaths who have lost their mind because of all the witchcraft that they've been practicing because of all the illusions that they live around, that they are governed by, and now they cannot differentiate reality and what's going on. They don't know anything about legal reasoning and logical. They can't speak that language. All they are accustomed to is, well, if I say, and then I have the police chief say it, then that makes it the case. They can't deal with actual facts. They can't deal with evidence that's proving that that's a lie, and they don't know what else to do other than engage in more incriminating conduct, such as targeting me as a whole police department. The lies coming out of your face, the inexplicable presence, which is also bearing legal relevance. It's also occurring in an environment that is supernatural. Yes, that is automatically suspect. It becomes relevant when you're engaging in this harassment and this targeting, as I documented, and I put that together for a federal court to look at it in its proper context. Look at them being around me, following me. This is a nuisance when I'm in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, and at night. This is an ongoing basis, circumstances that I don't control. And it is not a coincidence. Even so, it's not a coincidence. Look at this environment here. It's definitely not a coincidence, and it's in conformity to a pattern of conduct. I went to Los Angeles, I went to Pasadena, I went to San Bernardino, I went into Rialto, I went into Orange County, I went to Las Vegas, Nevada, to show you, federal court, that there is no imagining what American citizens are going through. I am doing nothing other than advocating on behalf of the ordinary targeted individual that does not have a body of evidence to prove that your family has conspired to murder you with the government. And moreover, they're demons. They're demon possessed. They're demon possessed. That is not Tales from the Crypt material. That is not some scary movie. That is not even a basis for a federal court to reasonably ignore, actually. It's become a matter of what is tangible evidence. And it's therefore legally relevant because the government is the one that is employing demonic, that is, i.e., terrorizing, psychologically harmful methods of targeting an American citizen. And you are a fool to think that you were going to get away with it over me, because I told these demons years ago, you're not going to get away with it. But what is Tracy Banks? She's convinced, and Eric Spencer's convinced because he's listening to his gang stalking demon-possessed mother. He's a demon as well, but he comes from this demon. So he's listening to this poor leader. And they're all convinced while they are all demons together. And guess what? I'm prosecuting the entire population of them. And they all believe because numbers, because a demon is calling himself a chief of police, because a demon is calling himself some sort of, let's say a demon is calling himself the mayor or a police officer or an EMT. A demon is calling themselves some sort of stranger, because they assume the position of a stranger, and they think that that's a defense in court regarding gang stalking, targeting by the government. As I've shown you the way in which this system operates, it is absolutely hanging on the fact that the entity needs nameless, if you will, nameless faces to engage in targeting, because that's creating the illusion of mental illness. But that also presupposes that the targeted individual is going to have a freak out somehow, that they're going to go around behaving in a manner that is on its surface supposed to create the illusion of mental illness. When I've even gone into that, that's not even mental illness when American citizens don't have evidence and they're being targeted, they're being psychologically tortured. You're stalking me 17 times in a week with helicopter. You're not mentally ill if you were to have a breakdown somehow, but the entity that's targeting you and then engaging in voyeurism, and then they're just pointing up, see, look, they're crazy, and they're lying and hiding the fact that they're targeting that person. That's maniacal. That is very wicked. It's not just criminal, it's evil. And these are demons that are practicing that. And it's a very specific formula that they employ. And it's monitoring. These are monitoring spirits. And Tracy and Eric are monitoring spirits as well. This is not family. These are malicious psychopaths whose plans have backfired in their face. And then they were foolish enough to come into my presence. But I'm not daughter and sister anymore. I'm federal prosecutor. I'm whistleblower. And you witnessed me be very gracious to them the first time that they came around. Tracy Banks was gang stalking and threatening me at 415 North Euclid Avenue in the morning. I did not speak with her. I continued my documentation on my podcast. I captured images of it. She shows up at the OVITT Family Community Library bearing food. She comes the other night to bearing food again, in and out. This is all she can think of when she's stalking. She wants to establish communication with me again. She wants to establish being in my presence. She wants to establish the fact that some sort of illusion that to be honest with you, this is a delusional psychopath. But she wants to, in order to target me, in order to try to make sense of what it is that she's done and said, and also to try to have some sort of back alley negotiation with me, which isn't going to happen. And it certainly isn't going to happen while you're still gang stalking me. She has to be in my presence. I'm not going to converse with you. You called the police. You tried to have me kidnapped. You did have me kidnapped, and you thought that that was going to stick, and it's not going to stick. It did not stick because there is no mental illness, and I'll prosecute those gang stalking so-called medical professionals. Arrowhead Regional Medical Center is a corrupt facility, engaged in the P.O.C., by the way. And like I stated, the pattern of conduct relies on the criminal surveillance by the police that incriminates everyone else. The sheriff, the court, medical facilities like Arrowhead Regional Medical Center engage in the pattern of conduct, and I have the evidence of the fake son over the room where I was kept kidnapped. I have the evidence of the entity targeting, keeping a fake son over the gang stalking court, a fake son over the gang stalking sheriff's department, the West Valley Detention Center, where the people of the state are keeping the fake son just yesterday over this parking lot where they are stalking this morning, pacing like a psychopath with license plate EJ871 handicap, a demon that's going into the veterinary office or going into Chevron, and all they're doing is monitoring. The fake son is over this parking lot. It remained over this parking lot, by the way, at 11 o'clock in the morning, at 12 o'clock in the afternoon. It remains on the opposite side of the same parking lot at the Ontario Town Square. Ontario Town Square is on the opposite side of the downtown luxury apartments. And that's where the entity was stalking on video, while Tracy Banks is in my face threatening my life. Understand that. That's the entity that psychologically tortures you, maintains their composure, says something sweet like, you want some pumpkin pie? While you see the entity stalking you by planes and helicopter in the background. And then they're supposed to be the ones that are innocent and loving you and can't understand why it is that you won't cooperate and what it is that's wrong with you and how they have the best interests for you and how they just want you to be okay. And that's why they should get your property and your money. And that's why you should be locked up in the facility. Okay? All right, this is the entity that's engaged in gang stalking through your family, and they're going to prison. Okay? Gang stalking family members, you're going to federal prison. That's how you're targeting domestic terrorists, where the government is targeting through the people of the state. If those closest to you, they're getting locked up. They're getting locked. Those are the closest ones to you, just like in a murder case. Who are the immediate suspects? The spouse. Who are the immediate suspects? Those closest to the victim. With gang stalking, the government relies on needs presence. That's why they're doing it through a population of so-called strangers. But I've also shown you through the pattern of conduct, they're not strangers at all. Leonida Builders knows exactly who I am. They're even aware of what's the status of my vagina. They're engaged in bathroom monitoring. They're a sex offender. They're engaged in what is the sex crime of bathroom monitoring as an entity. And they know who I am. That's why the supernatural is occurring around, over me in their presence. That's the evidence of knowledge. The absence of evidence of being a stranger, where none of them are exercising any constitutional rights either. And it is the evidence of mental illness on behalf of those who are maliciously engaging in a pattern of conduct. That's that P.O.C. 56266V2. Leonida, gang stalking. Light activity, stalking by the entity with the plane. You saw them on video doing so. They're already being prosecuted. That's what the entity is doing, and that's what they're doing right now. This is played out. I'm going to prosecute Leonida, any gang stalking immigrant, any immigrants that are employed, they're being deported. Leonida, even the president. If he is an immigrant, guess what? He's a domestic enemy, and he's going to be deported, targeting with the city of Ontario, where this city is going to be gutted out. That's not a police department. That's not an airport. It's not a fire department. These are all means of terrorism, psychological torture, and murder, conspiracy to commit murder. Absolutely, it's being removed. And that's exactly what Leonida engaged in right now, while they're triggered by the fact that that business is a sex offender, and every demon that's employed by that corrupt business that's engaging in terrorism, not a constitutionally protected right to maintain a business or the employ of terrorists that are facilitating violence by the state in furtherance of murder. Leonida, the president, and every demon under his corrupt leadership is subject to deportation. Any immigrants that are employed by that company. And that company is engaging in that criminal conduct in real time, while the demons lacking self-control, just like the demons of the Ontario police. They listen to what it is that I state. They send in little piss ant demons that are stalking me, monitoring my vagina to engage in what is calling me out of my name while you're stalking at the same time. It's missing its impact when you're stalking me. You went out of your way to be where I'm at. You're obsessed with my vagina. You're keeping me under surveillance. And at the same time, you want to appear in front of everybody else. Everybody else knows that you're a demon and that you're gang stalking me as well. This is the entity that missed its opportunity, which they jumped on very, very eagerly. All those little boys with phones jumping out, coming out of nowhere. Where did they all come from and why are they all hackling like? Those were demons, first of all. And those were little boys acting on behalf of the city of Ontario that's stalking through a population that's conspiring murder. That's the airport that's being removed. Gang stalking with Leonida while they're listening to every word. And guess what else they do? They monitor my vagina in the bathroom. Leonida Builders Incorporated is a sex offender, and Leonida Builders Incorporated's employees are sex offenders, and they're terrorists subject to, at risk of, deportation should any of them turn out to be immigrants, because you're going to be deported for terrorism. And by the way, that's something to celebrate for, because I've shown you the demon-possessed that are gang stalking have no regard for law and order. They have no regard for constitutional rights of American citizens. It's not just me. They don't like me because of my mouthpiece, because of my ability to prove what they are and what they're doing, and also to go even deeper with it. I let you know what they want you to think while they're engaging in it. I let you know what should be policy outside of federal law. I go very deep with it. Okay, but the entity, and that's why they don't like me. But I don't care about you not liking me. You're a demon and you're out here murdering other people, and you're never going to be able to get away with that ever again. 8YVY464. This entity engages in that conduct, stalking by helicopter when they're triggered, stalking by planes when they're triggered. And guess what? You're going to play back in federal court all that evidence of what is targeting me. And that it is relevant with regard to what is known. How pilots fly planes, the process of a takeoff from an airport, from any location, the elevation, what is going to be the level of disruption throughout the city? What is the agreement between the city and the airport with regard to what it is that they're doing, and what is the typical business practices of this is all relevant to proving targeting, in addition to the fact that you already know how the system works. It's the fake sun. It's the fake sun. Where is the sun in Florida when I have it from 7 until 6 p.m. yesterday between F Street and C Street yesterday? How is it in Florida? How? Because it's not. It's not. That's something that a 9th grader, a 5th grader can address. This is where an entity is engaging in what is triggered conduct, as they listen to me tell the truth about them being sex offenders, both monitoring my vagina and then want to be on social media because I garner attention. I garner a lot of attention. And they've been humiliated by the bad attention that they've got while they're being prosecuted in front of everyone. But they like to engage in sacrificing people in front of everyone. They like to make a spectacle of people that they're targeting, that they're psychologically torturing before they murder them. That's what Eric Spencer and Tracy Banks are into. They're into that. And they thought that they were going to do it to me under the guise of being a loving family member. And that's a very cold psychopath, by the way. Very evil. That's the work of Satan. Okay, the devil appearing as an angel of light, that character is manifest in what is somebody that is gang stalking with a family member. That the closest person to you, that's why they go to prison. But nonetheless, the entity is doing so in concert with the people of the state. The same exact pattern of conduct surrounds Tracy Banks and Eric Spencer. And the entity is engaged in this conduct, and Leonida crosses path with light activity. The loud truck is audible activity. Doing so while I just so happen to be documenting the fact that they keep my vagina under surveillance and that they're not strangers. And your proof, the federal court knows that that's the truth, because the supernatural, that is a fake sun that's remaining less than 0.3 miles. It didn't even move half of a mile. I went to the Bethel Congregation Church yesterday. That was at F Street in Euclid. That's where the fake sun is rising as I'm capturing it at 7:30 in the morning. And it was over my head at 12 o'clock in the afternoon. That's the sun didn't go anywhere. That's over 5 hours. Okay, this is the same block. Eric Spencer and Tracy Banks come here, and that's speaking to what's not a natural environment. So it also follows that when you are in that sort of environment that is supernatural, that's also going to be followed with the opposite. Oh, covering up that supernatural occurrence. And as though there's the absence of any logical conclusions drawn from that. If you can engage in keeping a fake sun all day long, okay, well, then you're also engaging in what is covering it up. But we understand the purpose of the fake sun. It's identifying who's being targeted. And it's also identifying who's engaging in the targeting. And in that same exact environment, you're not forgetting what was just documented. The Route 66 show. After 6 p.m., the fake sun. The Ontario police that are gang stalking at E Street in Euclid this morning at that intersection, they're standing right there at the Route 66 car show under the fake sun that's setting at this same exact ARCO gasoline. It's captured in the images uploaded to the Google Drive, and all those demons are wearing police uniforms, gang stalking under the guise of a Route 66 car show. It's pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic. They're gang stalking me and calling it police training as well. The same block. That's C Street and Euclid Avenue, where the fake sun is rising, and Southwest Airlines is stalking by hovering over C Street with a commercial plane, where there's no takeoffs coming from the airport hovering over C Street. There's no takeoffs coming from the airport hovering over El Pescado like they were doing this morning. And I documented those immigrants' license plates. If any of them are immigrants, rather, they're being deported. The entity's gang stalking flying over the Tortas building on Euclid Avenue. That's G Street. That's way beyond what is the Ontario Town Square, where they would like to maintain flights are routinely occurring. Okay, well, you're also flying over Woodside Senior Apartments. That evidence is there. This is what the entity is engaging in. This is evidence of targeting. That's how it's relevant to the malice behind Tracy Banks and Eric Spencer and every defamatory statement that they made, and they're going to prison for it. They engaged in defamation for the greater pattern of conduct to commit murder as an entity. You have to defame my character and make me appear on paper as a drug addict, as a prostitute, as somebody that's already dead. Don't forget about that. While you're gang stalking today, there are statements that they cannot reconcile. While you're trying to depict my character in this way and trying to blame me for anything that's happening to my own demise, that's why that defamation is so key. But when you are targeting through the airport, which is shown, when the airport has flights hovering over what is 8th Street and Euclid Avenue, when I'm in my vehicle coming from LA and I'm driving on Euclid out in the middle of the afternoon, fake sun over my car. This is evidence that the entity's not even thinking about when they're stalking at Saris Regis Group, downtown luxury apartments in Ontario Town Square all day long. The entity has an irreconcilable presence with the airport that has nothing to do with takeoffs, that the Ontario Airport Board and the Ontario Executive Team, they're being removed from it for targeting me 4 years in concert with the Ontario Police Department, the Ontario Fire Department, American Medical Response, the demons who are the people of the state. It is an irreconcilable environment showing clear targeting. Targeting that airport, police department, fire department, demons are calling themselves EMTs. They're going to be prosecuted for conspiracy to commit murder. That's why they are stalking. It's not just the what that I've exposed. It's the why. There is no reconciling those statements in the face of what is targeting by the state. And in fact, you're going to prison for not just engaging in what is unthinkable, unfathomable, targeting your relative for money because you're envious, but you're doing it because you wanted them dead as well. This is why you've already made up fables about my death. How is you coming in my face right now talking about you love me going to help you clear up that statement that you made about my death? How is that going to help? How is it going to help with regard to your having court hearings and lying about you don't know where I'm at and you know exactly where I'm at because you're gang stalking? So the whole entity was celebrating while I was kidnapped by the gang stalker San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. That's why I've been maintaining the case in chief, so that you would be aware of the malice of everything that they were doing the entire time. They did it with knowledge. They did it with malice. The intent to commit murder, anticipating that the federal court would never know about it and would never have to, would never ask any questions about it because I was supposed to be handled and contained. But that's not happening. That did not happen, and it was never going to happen because demons are not all-knowing. Satan is not all-knowing, and there is no group sex ritual where they can engage in that's going to deviate or change or rebut what the Lord God has said. And the Lord God has said that what Satan is doing is going to be known worldwide. The Nephilim are going to be exposed by name, and they're also going to be subject to what are even laws in the physical here on earth, so that everyone can have what is justice against Satan that thinks that he can go around targeting people through corrupt governments like the state of California. No sex ritual is going to stop that. No, in other words, no act of witchcraft. No magic. No hoodoo voodoo. No voodoo doll. And by the way, while they're engaging in that, it's directly relevant to mental illness. Oh, you think reality lies in poking in dolls, huh? You think that is superseding what is the rights of another person. This is somebody that needs mental examinations. This is somebody that is actually incapable of associating reality, okay, with consequences and things and people that have a right to not be on some voodoo doll and then climbing into the largest machine that you can fathom, like a plane and a helicopter, in order to deviate what is the rights of another human being. Those are the ones that are in need of severe mental examinations, like a battery of tests. And they call themselves an Ontario board, an Ontario executive team. They call themselves pilots associated with all the airlines of the Ontario International Airport. And remember, the city of Ontario, the state of California, this is a template. This is letting you know about targeting that's going on throughout this country. And all I've done is not only exposed it, I'm showing you how it is asinine. It's imbecilic. It's outright ignorant. They're all under a sun. Do you understand how that is a bullseye? So you can see from a aerial view, if you will, the macro level assessment, they're all cockroaches just pacing all around stalking, and everyone can clearly see them. Everyone sees them.
Covering up the fake sun the next day, that's the same P.O.C. And that's what Tracy and Eric did. And that's confirmation that 5CNH 541 is co-conspiring my murder, and not ignorantly so under that fake sun, not ignorantly so with the Ontario police in the same path, not ignorantly so with that airport in that same path that's going out of its way. Each and every aspect of that corrupt government going out of its way to target me. The airport, the fire department, the police department, the population themselves, the businesses, and the demons that are even in traffic are targeting with impossible light under a fake sun that remains on one street. It only leaves, which is supernatural. How is it remaining? Don't forget, when I get on Route 83 to Route 84 to Route 66 and get back on Route 83. And where is the fake sun? I also got on Route 61 and went to Pomona and then went to Fontana. But the entity has the fake sun over the downtown luxury apartments. That's essentially where the entity kept its fake sun, in the center between F Street and C Street, over the Saris Regis Group, a gang stalker, the downtown luxury apartments, where the entity is maintaining serial flight with commercial planes right now because I'm at ARCO. When I'm at the square, they're flying over the square. That's the entity that's engaging in that, and it's highly unintelligent. It's very obvious to see what is suspect regarding the environment. I'm looking at my shadow that's both in front of me and in back of me, and you're trying to suggest that there's nothing suspicious about that environment when everyone is around it and no one is paying attention to the sun. Everybody learned about the sun in fourth grade, fifth grade science. No one is noticing that, and that's also not relevant. That is speaking to what is actually very bright and intelligent, a presence of mind, an eye for detail, the direct opposite of trying to suggest mental. Everything that the entity has said, it has blown up in their face, and they're doing it with the population. And I'm also showing you that it is unreasonable, and it's actually false that they're ignorant of it. That's why you have that light activity. Let's look in the OVITT Family Community Library, because we can go example for example for example. They're not ignorant about that light activity that fills OVITT Family Community Library. Those demons are sitting in there, and all they can do when they're caught is just act like it ain't happening. That's all they do. They just act like it's not happening. If they act like they don't see it, they just act like, I'm so focused. Excuse me, I'm trying to take a test on with that light activity inside. Okay, yeah, I'm sure you're actually focused. No, they're not. And what's happening at the OVITT Family Community Library? All manner of terrorism by helicopter, ongoing targeting by commercial planes, and a sun that does not seem to leave me. It stays there, and so does everyone else. They're stalking. They're stalking. They're stalking inside of a library. License 71888L3, stalking. Okay? Doing so as an entity co-conspiring in murder. That's how you're going down for terrorism, because that's why the government does it, and that's what the criminal pattern of conduct is. What I have averted, what the federal government is going to be forced to stop, which is stop this government from trying to murder me, and it's doing it through the process of gang stalking. Gang stalking is the evidence of conspiring murder of an American citizen, and businesses, government bodies, public officials, a population is going to be prosecuted for it. They're doing so inside of the OVITT Family Community Library, inside of Starbucks, inside of Tracy Banks' apartment, Woodside Senior Apartments, the inside of my apartment at Alvarado Gardens. These are inside of my hotel room. Pick one, anyone, pick one. The light activity inside of American Inn, the light activity inside of Economy Inn, the light activity inside of Days Inn, the light activity inside of Baymont Inn. The entity stalking by, the light activity is also shown through the fake sun, and the entity stalking by helicopter. The entity stalking with the light activity inside of what is Ramada by Wyndham, if I didn't state that already, and Economy Inn, Days Inn, all the venues in Ontario, Mayfair Inn. Okay, the entity keeping the there's a history of the entity stalking, and I want to be clear, every single last venue, the city of Ontario. Not coincidentally, where's that sun? It's over my hotel room. Oh, wow. That's amazing. The entity is engaging when it's maintaining a crime scene, which you can clearly identify. So let's focus on one of these crime scenes really quick. OVITT Family Community Library. Oh, the sun is remaining over one building. That's the OVITT Family Community Library. But that's only when I'm in Ontario, because when I go to Fontana, then all of a sudden you can see the sun that's remaining over the entrance of the OVITT in Fontana, over the Fontana Lewis Library, which is at 8437 Sierra Avenue in Fontana, California. No, you cannot in the natural environment, but in an environment that is conducive to keeping you under surveillance, where you see the pattern of conduct is shared by the city of Ontario and the city of Fontana. Demons that know who you are to abide by a pattern of conduct that is supernatural, speaking to an unspoken engagement in a behavioral pattern in a supernatural environment, the conspiracy is already established, and it's a conspiracy to commit murder, to psychologically torture and sexually violate and traumatize before a homicide. The taking of a human being's life is occurring. And the entity intends to do so by blaming that targeted individual, claiming that they were paranoid, claiming that they committed suicide, claiming that they attacked someone else and that's why they met their demise, claiming that they were a drug addict and had an overdose, claiming that they are one way or another just in poor health and they died in their sleep. Those are the demons that are engaging in murder as an entity. And Leonida Builders Incorporated is a co-conspirator to murder as an entity. Starbucks, headquartered in Seattle, is a co-conspirator to murder as an entity. Paul Leon, a gang-stalking mayor, an oxymoron, by the way, is a co-conspirator to murder as an entity. ARCO and ARCO's employee, 9TIH520, co-conspirators to murder as an entity. While I've documented and surrounded them, ARCO and the employee, with evidence of targeting me, helping the government target me, including while you're at work, where you don't have a constitutional argument. You can state all day long, we know it's a fact that I don't know you. That's a part of the malice of the pattern of conduct. The government is stalking me at your place of employment under a fake sign where you are aiding in the elements of monitoring, just like every other city and every other county, every other location where I'm engaging in, where the entity is not reasonably ignorant about that environment, not coincidentally engaging in what is facilitation for how you're accomplishing monitoring, not ignorant about when you're inside of the OVITT Family Community Library and light is shooting like a laser. While the entity is doing donuts by helicopter over the entrance, targeting someone like they're being targeted everywhere else that they go, and everybody's oblivious to it. And everybody's oblivious to the light activity, and everybody's oblivious to the ongoing, but they make up things, they make up clear lies about the targeted individual about being a sex offender, though. Somehow, while you're documenting, you're fitting in molesting little kids. Somehow you're fitting that in. I'm leaving that out of my documentation. But the entity is, again, ignorant of me, doesn't know me, not targeting me, but making up blatant, clear lies. Lies, by the way, that happen to fit into the false narrative that Eric Spencer and Tracy Banks and Jason Isaac Fields have created. And the city of Ontario has created. That's not a coincidence. They should have said something else. They should have said I tried to steal somebody's money or something as a racist person, a black person engaging in some sort of theft. But they went it was a reach, very extreme, and clearly false, clearly made up. That's why you document. Just they're stating I'm harassing somebody at the Ontario Town Square. It wasn't even a conversation that day, and they're doing that while they're harassing me. That's letting you know about what they're admitting to when they accuse me of child molestation. That's what they're doing. That's how Satan is. Satan is falsely accusing others of what Satan is guilty of. These are pedophiles, by the way, and they're engaging what are trying to put on me the crimes that they've committed. They commit the crimes, and then the entity thought that, they're so elite, they're so powerful, they're so magical, that they're going to put all this on me, and then they're going to walk away celebrating. Humiliating me and setting me up for criminal conduct, kidnapping me, keeping me, and then defaming me, and they're going to have my money. They're going to have a whole sex train on a pile of my money and my property. They're just going to have a whole satanic festival. This is all in their sick minds. Their sick minds that tell them that it's a good idea for me to get it on video and put it on the internet where federal government is looking at targeting. They're not in some sort of illusion. They're looking at black and white targeting by the government, by the state. And I'm giving play-by-play. They're not ignoring me. And it's not some random nonsensical gibberish either, that I know exactly how effective my speech is. I know exactly how relevant the analysis is, because I'm coming across, speaking to people that have common sense, number one. And number two, I'm speaking to those that are engaging in a competent investigation, number two. And number three, I'm speaking to and referring to those that have knowledge of the law, how you would prosecute this, even when it's unheard of. And I'm tackling that Herculean feat. This is unheard of, but it's actually happening, and this is what you do about it. This is how you handle this. This is what you must do. There's nothing that looks mentally ill about that whatsoever. That's elite. That's what's scary. That level of competence, that's what's scary. And you know what the demons have done? You know what they're still doing? All they're doing is they're just engaged in ongoing, more of the same. They're just keeping on the gang stalking, hoping that somebody's going to look at it as, well, she says all that, she makes all those good points, and there is all that evidence showing consistency, and but we're just going to keep on in the hopes that based on who we are, the government, that it's just going to work in our favor and that they're not going to listen to the evidence. They're not going to look at it on its face for what it is. They're going to look at it based on what we say it is. Even when what they say it is defies common sense. It defies common sense. They are relying on you to wipe your brain clear. Don't exercise any independent thought and just listen to and believe what they state. That's what the entity is requiring you to do in order to even entertain that it is anything less than targeting. But it is not just targeting, it's targeting in furtherance of murder. You need to know every maniacal intent behind gang stalking by serial killers who are roaming free in California. Pedophiles roaming free, sex offenders, predators. They get to come to Ontario and engage in all the sex crime and perversion that they want because the city of Ontario is engaged in gang stalking somebody. And that's exactly what just go into the bathroom. Yeah, she'll be in there. She typically gets up and go to the bathroom. Go ahead and be in position before she finishes on the computer. Number one, that's all she's waiting. You can go in and have a field day, monitor that vagina. Go have a field day. They're engaging in surveillance. They are engaged in sex crimes together. They enable sex offenders that have an appetite for that perversion to engage in gang stalking me. And they all have that it's a spirit, by the way. It's a spirit. So it's not different. I'm just letting you know that those that you are aware are sex offenders because they have a criminal record, meaning you have an indication of it. They're all sex offenders. And those that are engaging in that and delight in it, they get their satiation from gang stalking. And the government is sharing in that sexual violence. And they get to have that sexual violence gratified by targeting. And you're going to prison for that. This is no ordinary sex crime. It's no ordinary sex crime to engage in gang stalking. But nonetheless, this is relevant to the P.O.C. The entity has the fake sun, covering it up, shining. They can do whatever you want. You've already shown that it's not the natural environment, and it's proof of targeting by the entity. The entity that has the fake sun over me is speaking to what is distinct and the ability to show that I am targeted amongst everyone else throughout this country. And why? Because of the exclusivity of the sun. There's only one. And so you're going to prosecute based on the unintelligent illusion that they presented. Oh, the one sun, it rises and sets over Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue? Well, that's not the natural environment, and it also becomes relevant what's happening in and around that Starbucks. We're capturing plane activity, we're capturing helicopter activity, we're capturing somebody that happens to be paying attention to ways in which that she alleges that she's being targeted, harassed in that environment, which we can all see is supernatural. So we're going to look into those allegations. We're going to look into those assertions. And in that environment, that is immediately suspect on its surface. Getting into the substance where you're looking at what is demonic, i.e. malicious, and what is also identified as clear targeting, because even on its surface, there is no explanation for that ongoing incessant helicopter activity that's happening under a supernatural environment with regard to what is beyond a coincidence that one person is going from place to place, capturing this ongoing harassment. As you look at it collectively in the aggregate, you have an ongoing pattern that is harassment by the government in an environment that is supernatural. Then you're getting to a pattern of conduct where it is unreasonable for a population to mimic that pattern of conduct in every city, every county that you're going to, and nobody knows about it. This is how you're going to prosecute psychopaths that think that because they say in court, I don't know the target individual, that you're getting away. You're going to prison. You're going to prison for kidnapping with the entity. You know exactly who I am. You engaged in criminal summoning. It's a state organized crime. You're not going to avoid federal prison because you plead not guilty in state. My defense is that I don't know the targeted individual. I'm sorry, I'm going to let you know right now, it's legally insufficient. It's actually irrelevant. It's irrelevant insofar as your inability to engage in criminal monitoring with the state. Who is there incriminating you? Stalking me by planes and helicopters? Stalking by fire, police, and ambulance? They are incriminating you. You know exactly who I am when you are staying at Economy Inn and the fake sun is over my room. And the fake sun remains over my room for the duration of the day. In fact, I went so far to make sure that I thoroughly documented the fact that everybody at that hotel is a sex offender, engaging in criminal surveillance, capturing both a sunrise and a sunset at that hotel. And during the day, the entity has the fake sun over my hotel room. Where the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department is engaging in the sex offense of monitoring a woman in a hotel room. Where the City of Ontario is gang stalking by the police department engaging in the sex offense of monitoring a woman in a hotel room, stalking her and having a pattern of kidnapping her with the fire department, with AMR, while they seek to try to create a narrative that is self-serving, and it's also ridiculous, totally unsupported. The only ones that have anything to say about mental illness are the demons that are gang stalking. You can see that as hollow, vacuous calumny, slander. It's nothing other than witches engaging in gossip, spell work. It's defamation, serving a criminal purpose, hence criminal defamation that only exists amongst the gang members themselves. That's it. And the entities engaging in that, and they have to make it up. And how do they engage in that? By kidnapping me. You are at the outset exposed to the P.O.C. with every interaction that we've had together. You were targeting. That's where it starts. So it's criminal conduct from the beginning to the end. You had to engage in criminal monitoring and gang stalking me in order to encounter me in the first place. They don't even get to part B, which you have to get beyond the pattern of conduct, state that you're not engaged in the pattern of conduct before we even get to what is the statements that you made. And you made those statements before you even believed that the pattern of conduct was going to put you away. Oh, you didn't believe that. But it is. I'm going to drain the pockets, and I'm going to criminally prosecute, that is punish, corrupt companies like Starbucks and Chevron and ARCO. And municipalities like Ontario, and companies like American Airlines and Delta Airlines and Southwest Airlines, the ghetto of gang stalkers in the sky space. I'm going to punish stalkers like Marriott Bonvoy, like the Hilton, like Westin. Every hotel that I'm remaining in, this is why I went around traveling to let you know, no matter what county I go to, there is no reconciling what San Diego County is doing under a fake sun and what Ontario, California is doing under a fake sun. And what's the coincidence? It's over me, both in San Diego County and in Ontario, which is defying nature, but it's showing a consistent pattern of conduct where the entity is also outside of my hotel room window, stalking as defined with that fake sun outside of that same hotel room window at Fairford Inn Suites in San Diego under a fake sun that's also over me in the morning. It's over me in the afternoon, and it's also there in the evening where San Diego County is stalking by definition, as I've shown you their P.O.C, with helicopters and commercial airline planes. That's where the city of Ontario is engaging in what is this nonsense, these unintelligent imbeciles covering up a fake sun at any point in the day. You are already shown to be engaging in a pattern of conduct, and they're doing so while the demons are so idiotic. They literally engage in stalking me by helicopter every hour of the day, and I have the fake sun over me every hour of the day as well. Covering up the fake sun is no deviation from the pattern of conduct. You're already on the map. And like I stated before, engaging in stalking in the incredible manners such as that is threatening. That's not a good thing. That incredible means terrorizing, psychologically torturous. That's what that means. All right, the most horrifying thing that they can think to do, that's what they're stalking you with. And that is pathetic in my eyes. It's showing how obsessed you are with me. It's showing how important what it is that I think of you is. You're shattered by my opinion of you. And then you pull out a helicopter, and I'm going to get it on video because it's proof of you targeting me. You're targeting, including while you do that, a retaliatory measure while you're keeping me under surveillance, what it is that I'm stating on my devices as I put it on the internet. This is an entity that's engaged. All of that is behind Eric Spencer and Tracy Banks coming to ARCO, where there is no hour where it's safe for them to do so. It's not safe for them to do so. It's the criminal pattern of conduct, which at the outset I stated is exactly what they've been engaged in and believe that the government was going to help them be above the law. The government's not even above the law. I'm prosecuting the government. But those are the demons that believe that numbers matter. That's the government that believes that it is above the law. In fact, and it is not at all. In fact, the government is inspiring the creation of additional laws showing this level of corruption where terrorists are homegrown. The terrorist is the government itself. This is not so different from what's happening in third world countries. Unfortunately, we have found ourselves in a circumstance that's happening abroad while we have failed in being any sort of moral stance to tell anyone about their regimes in other parts of the world because of what the United States government is doing to American citizens. And I want to be clear, what's happening to me is not an exception. The only exception is that it did not work. The exception is that I'm alive and I'm able to, and that's by God's design. Not only am I alive, I'm alive and well, thriving in order to, it's for a reason. Because I am not the only person that's why it's not an exception in that regard. I'm not the first person. I am not the only person that the government in the United States has targeted. I'm not the only person the city of Ontario has targeted. Okay? And not only is it important for me to be able to speak to that, but I mean, go into detail about this is how you must, it's beyond what is any sort of chance or just a coincidence that I was targeted and equipped with the ability that I have to expose it, not just to protect myself and enforce my rights, but it's for other people. They do this to people that don't have evidence, and that's who my heart goes out to. They do this to people that they're hurt to an unfathomable degree that their family would target them like that. And that is what causes them to lose it mentally. They're perfectly fine. They weren't mentally ill. That can cause you to lose it when your family targets you like that. That's it. You give up on life. That's it. And the entity will use that as they target you to then claim, oh, they're crazy. And they always were crazy. This is what we were stating. And that's why that money should be mine. That property should be mine. And they need to be locked up. Oh, yes, I love them very much. I want the best for them. They need to be locked up. That, to put it in a very succinct manner, that's the entity that engages in that. And it typically is causing what is a psychological breakdown in American citizens. And they also, on top of that, the entity is targeting you. And what you need to get to is that the government. You get beyond those gang stalking demons that are in your family and friends. It's the government. That's what you need to recognize. This is state action. It's all state action. And that's where you need to recognize that this is something where the government is targeting people, and the government is doing so with the very purpose. Oh, they want you to allege that you're part of some conspiracy and the government's chasing. They want you to claim that while you don't have any evidence. Okay, that's textbook formula for trying to paint you as a paranoid schizophrenic. They want you to claim that. They literally want you to. They want you to. And that's why you see, it's very foolish. What the entity is doing, this is how they target other people. But I'm not the average. I'm not the average targeted individual. I'm here to not only collect, but I'm here to expose. And I'm not just doing it halfway or just a little bit or kind of like there's no competition with these demons in court. They already lost. They lost, and they lost a long time ago. So this is not just a kind of sort of almost victory or I'm victorious, but if I make one false step, then they might get no. This is total, utter destruction of the system, implosion of gang stalking, and exposing the United States government for targeting American citizens. I did not just kind of win. I totally accomplished what it is that I said at the outset was going to be the case. I said it in 2018. I'm going to prosecute the state of California. I did not state that because I was imagining anything or that I did not know what was going on. And I am not taking credit for that. It's because the Lord God gives me a vision and he tells me what to do. And because the entity are full of demons and they're envious of someone with spiritual gifts whom they're monitoring, they know. They know. And the demon-possessed thought that they were going to falsely depict a spiritually gifted person who also happens to be legally trained, who also happens to be a wordsmith, who also happens to know how to represent herself and others. This is what the training in the legal field provides. I had every sword needed in order to take these demons down, but they thought because of it, they think that it's a numbers game. Because they thought that I was like every other person. That's why they foolishly engaged in this endeavor. That was a setup by God himself. Understand that. This was always going to be the case. But I want to be clear. It needs to be known that the government engages in very foolish things. When I point out, oh, they're targeting, and I go through the analysis, a very clear cut. The prosecution is clear, okay? It's no question in court. What does the entity do, though? They engage in more of that. They'll engage in more stalking in a plane. I captured the son at the same parking lot at 8 in the morning and it's 3 in the afternoon. Why would you do that? If you understand how you're about to be prosecuted, why would you do that? Why would you do that? This is not a circumstance where anyone's looking at, no. I have the evidence backing up everything that I have asserted and every allegation that I have made. I don't go out puffing hot air. Everything I say is backed up with evidence. Everything. Even when I say it before the fact, I have the evidence to support it. And that's exactly what I said. I'm going to prosecute, and I have the evidence. I'm prosecuting. The entities engage in this conduct, and they engage in very foolish things. The government wants the ordinary targeted individual to make assertions. Oh, the government is targeted. And this is what the unsophisticated targeted individual does. Okay, they're typically not attorneys. They don't know the law. They don't know their rights. They don't know how to create what is a nomenclature for something as demonic and psychopathic as engineered light. How do you make something like a fake sun sound intellectual and sound like what is a main ingredient in recognizing state action? Okay, that's tough. That's a challenge. That's something that a specific person would have to be on assignment by God himself in order to tackle. No ordinary person could do that. This is why they do it. They want you to say, oh, the government's attacking, the government's after me, and on its surface, they are not lying. They don't know how to, and nobody should have to be confronted in this manner. But this is what the government is doing. That's getting to the mouse. That's conspiracy to murder and kidnap right there. That's why they do it. That's why they do it. And they're psychopaths. They derive pleasure from it. They love it. They're evil. They're serial killers. This is Satan. That's what's filling my family coming in my face. And I love you, Erica, while he's driving away. He's going to prison and he's scared. And I don't feel sorry for him because this is what no person should ever be subject to. What he has done is what causes American citizens to have psychological breakdowns. And for that to be misconstrued with mental illness to help what is defamation in the first place. They engage in targeting you, violating you, and then they go back and defend it with, oh, they're crazy. They're crazy anyway, so it doesn't matter. They're crazy, and because a judge certifies that, because a judge and a gang stalking medical professional lies on you, this is corruption at every level. And I've gone through all the circuits, and I've exposed that already. I've shown you the civil court system. I've shown you the criminal justice system. Those are deceptive misnomers. State targeting through the government. In concert, in reliance, cannot do it without the people of the state. That's why family members and fake friends, they're going to prison. That's why. Because of the structure of the system. And they want you to claim, oh, it's the government, and you don't have any evidence to prove it. That's not me. These imbeciles are doing it not just evidence, but a mountain, years of mountain of evidence. You're talking about the natural environment. We can study this. We can get to a scientific degree of certainty how it is under no circumstances the natural environment. And that's directly relevant to everything that's happening in that environment that follows me around. That's also supernatural. They're all stalking and they're demons. And that's psychological torture as they defame your character. That's somebody that's intending to murder you. The coexistence of psychological torture, the program that they're engaging in, while defaming at the same time, that's so evil. That is so evil. That's what your family and friends are doing. They're psychologically torturing you, and they do it under the guise of, oh, I love you. I love you so much. You're my bestie. I love you. I want the best for you. I don't know what's wrong with you. You know, we just wanted to see That's psychological torture. And the American citizen that doesn't have any evidence to prove that everyone, it is not, you know, the saying, it's an ism. Typically, when you're going around and you seem to have a problem with everybody, typically it's not everybody else, it's you. It's the exact opposite with the demon possessed. It is everybody. But they don't have any evidence to show and prove that it's everybody. In fact, nobody has evidence to prove that it's everybody because that is way too far and too high of a standard for people. How can you prove that it's everyone? Well, this is what the P.O.C. establishes. And a large portion of it, 80% of it, I've gone through the behavioral pattern. The behavioral pattern is I go from city to city, even state to state. The behavioral pattern, that's in the specific environment. That's how you prove it's everyone. And it is not that targeted individual, and it actually does occur when you are targeted by everyone. It actually happens. That's also why Satan is doing the government, as I'm using the term Satan, which is the spirit, it is the government. This is demonic. The government's employing satanic means of targeting. This is why they're doing it, because of the isms like it's not everyone else, it's you. That's exactly why they engage in gang stalking. Because again, that's on the entity is engaging in what is manipulating what is the mindset of someone that's ignorant of this type of evil. So, I mean, it's understood that someone at the outside that's genuinely ignorant, okay, not a delusional psychopath, someone that's genuinely ignorant about what is being exposed, of course you are. Even at the undertaking of my own investigation, I did my documentation on my own. Before I said one word publicly, I did my own investigation, my own little test, okay? And I'm getting my own confirmations. I'm sensing this is weird. I'm thinking maybe Upland is just not the city for me. I'm definitely moving away from Tracy. They're doing something weird around my home. When I call the police on her, their behavior is totally peculiar, very suspicious. That's why I was documenting it. But I'm not making allegations against anyone. I'm not making allegations, but I'm covering myself. I'm documenting it. I'm paying attention. And you know what I do? You know, I'm just going to move. I'm an attorney. I have a license. I can go anywhere in California and practice. And that's exactly what I did. Moved out and moved to LA. And guess what? Just like you see in 2024, guess what LA is? LA is engaged in the same pattern of conduct. I'm subject to ongoing harassment as I relocate. Harassment is an indicator regarding targeting, state targeting. And it's harassment that's happening from job to job to job. Harassment that human resources, which is full of the people of the state, that are not under any circumstances doing what they're supposed to do under California law, state and federal law, but engaging in what is enabling that ongoing form of violence in the workplace. And this was before they pulled out the helicopters. They pulled out the helicopters when I started pulling out notepads and taking notes of police license plates. When I started taking notes, Pomona pulls out helicopters and airplanes in a manner that is very obvious because they were doing so the whole time. But the entity engaged in what is hovering in planes and flying circles over me in helicopters when I started taking note of it. That's what happened. They were doing it in Upland, California in May of 2018. So that's how you can confirm what it is that I'm stating before I coined the P.O.C. All right. They were already engaged in the pattern of conduct. That's why you can see engineer light in my apartment. That's impossible light activity, light that is not the product of the sun that is outside of the building, the sun that's not sitting on the stairs outside of the apartment door, that's not going to cause light to bounce inside of your apartment and create the pattern of the blinds on the ceiling when you're looking at Officer Nakamura standing with the engineer light inside of my apartment in Upland. It's impossible light activity he's monitoring. As Upland police are already on the map gang stalking in the same way that the city of Ontario is gang stalking, in the same way that the city of Los Angeles is gang stalking. Okay, the entities engaging in this pattern of conduct, and they're doing so in the face of that evidence, showing an unmistakable, ongoing criminal conspiracy existing amongst the civilian population and the government itself, acting both directly and vicariously. Okay, so the entities doing that, and Tracy Banks and Eric Corey Spencer, they are as damning as the Ontario Police Department and the Ontario International Airport. They literally just injected themselves. So that's the ongoing context. What you're listening to in the background, the frequency with which Julia Gu and Alan D. Wapner, Jim Bowman, Kurt Hagman, these are demons that are, and Ronald Leverage, these are sex offenders that have been being paid while they're terrorists, calling themselves an Ontario board. Again, another deceptive misnomer. They are going to be removed from position, and the airport is going to be shut down. The entity is making millions of dollars off of what I've exposed as actually corruption and terrorism, and the implosion of that conduct because of the psychopaths that are engaged in this clear evidence of targeting, which is shared by the environment and the behavior in that environment. That's how you're proving that it is everyone. Not only that, you're talking about what justice requires, which is removing the far expansive means of conspiring murder, engaging what is seeking to murder an American citizen by stalking them through the government, stalking them through a population, psychologically torturing and harassing them as a population, as a government system. This is what the entity is doing. So when you're hearing the planes in the background, that's, again, there is no air, like I stated, and it's also not rocket science in the same way you see the sun over me at Chevron at 7, and you see the sun over me at Chevron at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and the sun over me at Chevron at 6 o'clock in the evening. That's the same entity that's engaging in what is targeting in a way that is incongruent and impossible to coexist with a takeoff from an airport that is clearly shown to be even engaged in the pattern of conduct with the fake sun over me at the grounds of the Ontario International Airport. Literally a terrorist full of demons that climb into cockpits, climb into planes to stalk me, and they do so specifically knowing who I am and where I'm at. The specific environment is the evidence of that. The unreasonable engagement in a pattern of conduct and then simultaneously claim, oh, I didn't know. I don't know that I'm engaging in a pattern of conduct is untenable. I don't know that I'm engaging in what is an ongoing behavioral pattern is untenable. I don't know that I'm in an environment where a light is shooting around like a laser, including while you're sitting there, and I don't know that the helicopter, I don't know about the helicopter for 20 minutes, I don't know, I didn't see it. That's untenable. All the ways in which I'm showing you that the entity is targeting together, and they're embarrassed and humiliated while they're just doing more of the same. More of the same. Julia Gu is going to be prosecuted as a terrorist that's been engaged in what is ongoing monstrous behavior as somebody that's been enriched from terrorism in the state of California. She's been enriched by it. She's been enriched by it, and she's going to be removed from that position. She's going to be prosecuted like the terrorist that she is. She's not a commissioner. She's a terrorist. She's a psychopath also. You're able to mentally diagnose. You're able to criminally prosecute. You are able to also expel from positions of threatening a mass amount of people, which is what Julia Gu represents, being on a so-called airport board where every plane that is engaged in gang stalking, she knows the entire airport board is aware of. And it is untenable to claim that you're ignorant about what the planes at the Ontario International Airport are engaging in, or the airlines are ignorant about what is targeting, because that's exactly where they're headed. Now because this is clear targeting, they're going to get to a point, we didn't know that, and it's all untenable. All of it is untenable. It is an inevitable prosecution, including the knowledge and what is relevant to identifying targeting, which is a takeoff that any pilot would engage in, execute, from an airport, and what is not going to occur, which is what I'm documenting. I'm standing at 4th through 4th and Euclid Avenue still, and the entity is maintaining a fake sun in alignment, the same location. You can hear the clock in the background. It is currently 10:01. The fake sun is here at 7 o'clock in the morning when I stand. The entity has the fake sun at 6:33 a.m. where I'm documenting where demons are engaging in surveillance. 8 NWL 458 1967 6S3. Stalking in the path, staying at the driveway at the Ontario Veterinary Hospital. No traffic is stopping them. They're engaging and surrounding in the path under a fake sun, 3 hours at the same address. Not going anywhere, and neither is an entity that is stalking in that environment. You know that they are stalking because the same fake sun is over me at this same Chevron and ARCO at 12:49 in the afternoon. That's what I documented yesterday, where the airport that you hear now is stalking in that remarkable environment, not ignorantly, and not ignorantly regarding Julia Gu and Alan D. Wapner and Jim Bowman and Kurt Hagman. They're not ignorant either. Neither will they be found to be in a position to be sheltered from what is clear targeting proven by that venue, the airport. You're going to be held accountable whether you want to admit it or not. Just like a murderer with blood all over their hands. Whether you want to admit it or not, you're being prosecuted. You've been proven under the law beyond a reasonable doubt, and you're going to get that federal prosecution. P.O.C. 7VXS 415 19676 Sam 37 Nancy Mary Charlie 994. All of them co-conspiring murder, stalking under a whole fake sun. And it's the bullseye to prosecute the whole population. LAPD is gang stalking. The city of LA is competing with the gang stalking underway in the city of Ontario and the Ontario Police Department. The entity is gang stalking in San Diego, California, competing with the city of Los Angeles, the city of Ontario, engaging in the pattern of conduct gang stalking. As you are looking at what is to a scientific degree, it's even beyond what is the legal standard, what is beyond a reasonable doubt. It's to a scientific degree of certainty that it is nothing other than targeting, including the asininity of stalking miles and miles away through the city of Ontario, perpetually hovering throughout the city in commercial planes. You're not taking off when you are over what is Mountain Avenue and 5th Street, like I'm documenting the entity stalking in commercial planes. Mountain Avenue is west of where I'm at, Euclid Avenue. The entities engaged, this is already all on the record, flying over my head by planes at Walmart, flying over my head in helicopters, stalking in helicopter at Walmart, flying over my head as I'm walking into the Walmart in Burbank, flying over and stalking me by helicopter, flying in circles over me at Walmart while the fake sun is over Walmart. At what point during the day, yesterday and today, is the Walmart going to be at the same time of year, like I documented, over Walmart at Mountain Avenue and 5th Street in Ontario? Because it's not. But that's targeting by the entity, as I have example after example, thousands and thousands and thousands of them, where I don't control those circumstances, but I documented a clear, identifiable pattern of conduct. And that helicopter activity happening over it's funny how I said Wells Fargo, because that's on the record as well. But this targeting, greeting me with terrorism by the gang stalking police who are keeping me under surveillance with the people of the state. That includes Walmart. I can't make that up. Gang stalking me by helicopter at the Walmart in Ontario, California. Fake sun. Guess what they're doing? Flying in circles over my head at the lawn and garden area. Terrorism by your local Walmart. That shouldn't be a surprise. Okay? Walmart is a domestic terrorist. Walmart despises justice. Walmart engages in what is means of targeting me as they listen to my evidence against them. They're demons. All right, and they engage in retaliatory acts while I refer to them. I've been referring to Walmart just because I don't say the name brand Walmart. I've been documenting Walmart that was targeting me with the Ontario Police Department in 2020. I've been documenting them. The entity is keeping the fake sun over the OVITT Family Community Library. That's not over the lawn and garden at Walmart. The entity's flying over my head with the fake sun, flying in circles by helicopter over and over and over. And the entity kept that fake sun. August of 2020, you can look it up yourself. The entity's engaging in this P.O.C. and they're doing so in a manner that is speaking to mental illness, because we're beyond that prosecution for the criminal system. Now the entity that thinks that it can falsely depict the character of American citizens upon seeking to conspire their murder, this is the entity that's going to be the basis for studying severe mental illness shared by a population that's been closeted and unaddressed. 6YPD012 sharing in that. A psychopath that's stalking you, taking the specific street and route that they are, while the entity is targeting in the ways in which you know that the government is. Planes and helicopters under a fake sun while they're stalking you with impossible light, looking to the opposite side of the road while they're molesting your person with engineer light. Where does that light come from? And you think looking to the opposite side is going to remove you from that documented federal offense? It's not. They're delusional. They're delusional. That is what Eric Spencer and Tracy Banks are engaged in. And I want to be clear, it's not a distinction. These demons that are stalking, this is the removal of the Ontario Police Department. They were stalking by plane at El Pescado this morning, G Street in Euclid. The gang stalkers whose license plate I docked with the white pickup trucks. And Leonida went right up there to G Street because those demons think, oh, because they're in construction, but they can pull up their truck anywhere and we'll just start digging in the grass. We'll just, look at the sprinkler system because that's the line of business that they're in. That's a gang stalker. Okay, the entity's engaging, they pull up their truck while the entity is stalking with planes flying at G Street in Euclid. The entity was covering up the planes that are flying over, but you hear them now. That's exactly what they were doing. That's exactly why I documented. The gang stalkers engaging in landscaping, that's criminal presence in the path, and those gang stalkings, potential immigrants, they're going to be subject to deportation. In the same way that any government, like the city of Ontario shows, the entire population that's of the immigrant status, they're being deported. They're being deported, as any terrorist should be. That is not a natural born citizen. You're going right back to wherever you came from, and you can go target in your home country because you're not welcome here. You are not welcome here. And that goes for demons sitting on the Ontario board. Guess what's coming? The demons that are sitting on the Ontario executive team, those demons that are sitting on the Ontario Fire Department, the so-called Ontario City Hall, the City Council, I don't care what position you call yourself in, get ready because ICE is going to be doing some massive deportation sweeps. You're out of here for terrorism. And I told you beforehand, it's happening, and it needs to happen. And guess what? The country, we're going to applaud it. This is not some act of some monstrosity that innocent people are suffering from. These are terrorists. They're serial killers. And I have lived and survived it and exposed it and triumphantly am victorious through it so that you would know that demons need to be deported out of this country. We have enough sex offenders. We have enough criminal stalkers. We have enough co-conspirators of murder. And what we can do is get rid of those that are not even natural born. You're out of here. That's point A and part of the ongoing system of solutions that are going to be implemented regarding targeting domestic terrorism, which is a problem in this country, and it's a problem in California. And that problem, I just want to be clear, and I'm going to end it here. It is a disqualification of the presidency, which Gavin Newsom is so thirsty for. It's a disqualification. Just so that you know that. It's currently 10:08 a.m. where the entity is stalking by commercial planes, and that's what they're doing at the Ontario Town Square last night. And the moment you'll see on video that I leave the square, they're stalking, flying north as I walk north, flying over the Ontario OVITT Family Community Library. Not at one point are they ever flying over the OVITT Family Community Library while I am staying at the square. They remain south of my person. That's why you can hear them, and that's not going to be the case when they're taking off from the airport, engaging in what is legitimate flights from the airport, takeoffs and landings. It's not going to include what is that which is competing with the sound of my voice at 434 North Euclid Avenue, where takeoffs from the airport, any flights from the airport, you are necessarily targeting in that environment in the same way that they're targeting when they're hovering over same location with helicopter in the same exact specific environment, stalking, and no longer to be flying over this parking lot that has the fake sun over it at 12 o'clock, at 6 o'clock in the evening, and the video documentation is already on YouTube. These fools came into my presence today, gang stalking with the city of Ontario. That's what Eric Spencer and Tracy Banks did, and they're both going to federal prison. All right, that's the P.O.C. License 7FKV760. 31. Matter of fact, I'm going to separate this discussion and I'm going to go ahead and document all the license plates of the demons in this parking lot that are engaging in the criminal pattern of conduct while the entity is maintaining serial flight over this parking lot. And you saw it on video yesterday, which is the fake sun, the 11 a.m. video yesterday. The Ontario International Airport is stalking by flying over the downtown luxury apartments, engaging what is making U-turns over that apartment building, flying in 2 separate videos when I'm going to the fake church Bethel congregation in Euclid. The fake sun is over me as I'm at that church. And the demons who are gang stalking, whose license plate I'm running, they're in traffic. Impossible Light is swiping onto the buildings while they're in the street. So this is light that's just it's just coming out of nowhere, flying in the air and swiping across buildings. Those are demons that are stalking with light. That's what they're all doing under what is a fake sun. That's what they're doing when they're stalking by definition, by proof of it, in that specific environment. And in this same parking lot at 11 o'clock in the morning, it's on YouTube. At 12 o'clock in the afternoon, it's on YouTube. I also reminded you about what I documented at 6 o'clock in the evening at this same exact parking lot while I'm on Euclid Avenue, and the entity is gang stalking, flying over the same apartment building, flying over that's the entity stalking. And also at 6:33 in the afternoon, 7:30 in the morning, when I'm at the 415 sleeping on the bench there. And where's the fake sun rising? Right here at this same parking lot, as I'm showing you the bigger picture of what they're doing. This is an entity that's also targeting, because when you're taking off from the airport, you wouldn't even hear that plane that's interfering, competing with my voice. That's targeting, and it's stalking under a fake sun. Okay, license LEOBLD2 is stalking as a business, and those are demons that are stalking, operating that business in furtherance of gang stalking with the government, both the government and the government that's acting via corrupt third parties like Leonida, ARCO, Chevron, Starbucks, Rogers Florist, Gloria's Cochinas, Ceres Regis Group. The entity that's gang stalking under the guise of a library. This is any and everything. It's public corruption. That's what you're mindful of when the entity is engaged in that, because that's what they're doing. They're maintaining serial flight right here. Don't forget about what you've already seen. This is an entity that's already defeated. It's already prosecuted. And it's already happened publicly on the internet, and the entity is engaging in that to its own demise. They forgot about the entity stalking me on Walmart, and they share that with Burbank police in Burbank, California. They're stalking me, flying over me specifically at Walmart in Burbank, California. Out of every other place, they're flying over my head. This is what the Ontario police like to do, stalking me at Walmart. This is what Walmart likes to do, in other words. This is what Walmart in Hesperia is doing, stalking me by helicopter at the Walmart. And guess what's over the top of my head? The fake sun that arrives over me into Hesperia, because I'm on the freeway and the fake sun's remaining over me. So I bring the fake sun to the Walmart in Hesperia, California, where the entity is stalking by definition. Stalking me by helicopter at the Walmart in Burbank. Stalking me by helicopter at the Walmart in Ontario, California. Engaging in what is stalking with impossible light and methods of targeting, which I've documented. Criminal summoning, harassment, because you're documenting demons that don't want to be caught, don't want to be called out. And you are still, and the entity is engaging in what is, while doing so, interfering with an ongoing federal case, while the government will learn to respect, which it does not now, and that's why they're going to be deported, those that are immigrants. They're going to be removed from office, those that are sitting in positions of authority. They're going to be prosecuted and put in prison, those that are engaging in committing kidnapping and criminal summoning. And they're engaging in what is an interference with federal law, federal legislation, a federal case regarding what is terrorism that American citizens are subject to, showing their disdain, showing their true state. These are domestic terrorists that are homegrown. They're here amongst us, and they don't even like this country. They despise us. They despise what this country stands for. Those of us that are amongst terrorists that make a lot of money, like Bezos. Those of us that are amongst those that are gang stalking, all they're doing is working at ARCO, trying to put two pennies together, equally threatening to American citizens. It's not based on how much money they make. But what is a threat is that those that are engaging what is exercising influence, and they're nothing other than terrorists, anti-American, gang stalking psychopaths. That's the difference. Okay, this is P.O.C. So you're mindful of that while the entity is providing all that evidence. While it's 10:13 a.m., there's no sun that's going to be over the same parking lot at 6 o'clock in the evening. And there's nothing other than gang stalking underway. And the entity is gang stalking every aspect of gang stalking. You're gang stalking by Starbucks. You're gang stalking as an employee at ARCO. You're gang stalking through the ARCO establishment. Remember, ARCO's there so that gang stalkers could pull up to a gas pump and stalk in the past, staring, monitoring on their phones, so that they can engage in what is a malicious, a malicious method of stalking someone. And that's why you see the same thing. The ongoing stalking by planes and helicopters, the ongoing criminal summoning by the state, fake sun, you're filling up your gas tank. It's P.O.C. Okay, the ongoing stalking by planes and helicopters, the ongoing criminal summoning, the ongoing stalking with impossible light activity. They're pouring coffee into your cup. It's the same P.O.C. These are the demons that are engaging. It's public corruption. And this is a society of the demon-possessed that target American citizens. And under their, regardless of what, they can throw Eric Spencer and Tracy Banks into the equation. You can sit them at the gas station, let them fill up their gas tank. You can put them in the parking lot, just like they did. You could have them inside of Starbucks. Tracy Banks did that, gang stalking me with Starbucks. It's the same pattern of conduct. What's the difference? The only difference is I know that demon's name. Oh, no, I know that demon's name. That's Tracy. She's going to prison. That's the difference between the barista and Tracy Banks. Tracy's going to prison under all circumstances. If the barista wants to kidnap with the Ontario police, like they did, they're going to prison too. If they're engaged in systematic gang stalking, guess what? Under federal law, you're going to federal prison too. If that barista's an immigrant, guess what? You're getting deported. You're going from pouring out coffee, gang stalking, to going back home wherever you're from. And it looks like ICE is enjoying it. That's nobody else's concern, though, because they're out here targeting American citizens, whether you like how you're going to be uprooted out of this country or not. Who really cares? Who cares? You're listening to impunity. You're listening to those that hate this country. You're listening to those that don't have a right to be here. You're listening to those who deserve exactly what's coming for them. They deserve every single last ounce of it. They're serial killers. They've been engaged in framing innocent American citizens, stealing from them, and keeping them obsessively under surveillance. They're envious of them. They want to be them. So they destroy their lives, and they do it through the bullying of gang stalking. That's why the city of Ontario is being gutted. It's being gutted. This is P.O.C. So I'm going to show you the fake sun. This is where the entity has the fake sun in the evening, in the afternoon, and this is where the entity is stalking by plane and has been doing so. I've been speaking for over an hour. And this is where the entity is engaging with it, and even pay attention to where they're at. They're flying closer to me over the parking lot as opposed to flying over the downtown luxury apartments building proper, because as I migrate south, south, that's where they're flying over the apartment building. Okay, as I go north, that's when they're flying over El Pescado, over the Tortas building, over 537 North Euclid Avenue, Raymond Bond and Mortgage. And you're going to prosecute those businesses. They're gang stalking with the government. Okay, gang stalking with the government that pursuant to what is an actual takeoff is not going to include hovering over their businesses. That's how they're gang stalking together. That's how they're flying over Starbucks, because Starbucks is gang stalking. And I've been inside of Starbucks showing you how that pattern of conduct works. They are indeed engaging in that pattern of conduct, and that conspiracy is established while the plane and helicopter activity is underway at that venue. They are going to be prosecuted. That's the ongoing criminal conspiracy to commit murder as an entity while they gang stalk together. And that's the government telling on the people, and the people telling on the government proper, because they are in the shoes of the government. They're not private citizens. It's not private property. Surveillance is underway, and they're engaging in that P.O.C. together. Okay, and that fake sun you're seeing, it's 10:17 a.m. right now. This is the entity that's engaging in maintaining that flight where I'm located, doing so pursuant to what is the same pattern of conduct. It doesn't take a pause. This is exactly what Eric Spencer and Tracy Banks is engaging in when they're in my presence today. And those are disingenuous serial killers conspiring my murder and failing at making any sort of ability or engage in any sort of ability to reconcile the things that they've stated about my character, which they stated in furtherance of seeking to kidnap and murder me. All right, and that's relevant to the entity that's gang stalking. The entity is engaging in this, and this is the prosecution of the government, and it's the prosecution of the people of the state that are in the shoes of the government. All right, that's P.O.C. It's currently license plate 9FKV760, license 31048, handicap, license 9 Frank Xavier Paul 807, license plate 5UCR830, 9SUJ598, 8UVY870, 8SWH584, 9UYM518, 7RYN683. These are all co-conspirators to murder, by the way. 8MQB725. They have all gone in and invest in the murder of an American citizen that they're keeping under surveillance with the government. That is also engaging what is stalking with them by maintaining serial commercial flight over this parking lot under the fake sun, where they're all stalking in the path, fully exposed to a prosecution, and there is no defense for it. License 8U Mary Henry 340. Alrighty, license plate 9JQX766, 9NPK359, 9GXZ646. In case I did not read that one, I think I read that one already. think 8TJA082. And you're also going to pay attention where I'm in this parking lot and the fake sun is not over the OVITT Family Community Library at 10 a.m. Okay? This is where the Ontario International Airport is stalking. This is where Eric Spencer and Tracy Banks were stalking your own family member. Absolutely, when you're understanding the context of the state system of gang stalking. 8 U.I.S. 917, 6 U.A.T. 275, 5 J.M.T. 337. California concrete cleaning, they're gang stalkers. So I'm going to document this. License 8337 9F3. All right, that's relevant for a loss of licensure upon I'm going to prosecute, but I'm prosecuting the business as well. Businesses are not keeping licensure where it's required in order to engage in that business. It's going on the record, public information regarding the corruption of that business, a co-conspirator of murder, a sex offender, criminal surveillance, doing so in furtherance to obstruct justice. Everything that the entity is committing, they're doing it under the guise of a business name, and you are losing your licensure for that. This is relevant to the ways in which terrorism is going to be prosecuted and disincentivized amongst a corrupt population that's enabling a government to keep an American citizen under surveillance. License 3476 2F2. All right, I surmise these are Leonida builders. These demons are in the parking lot, leaving their personal vehicles. I surmise that. That may or may not be the case. It doesn't matter. They're third parties, and I'm going to document them. License 58012J3. I documented them several times while Leonida is gang stalking in the parking lot. 23630Y2 and 9UAN447. The sun that is over me as I'm capturing it in images, when it's also not over the OVITT Family Community Library entrance, which is behind me, that by behind me meaning it's not over what would be, let me see, south to be over the OVITT Family Community Library entrance while it's over me and I'm looking at it through the trees while the demons are stalking where that fake sun is, which is not over the Ontario Town Square, not over the 280 North Limit Apartments. You see them stalking me where that fake sun is evident of them stalking as an airport. And that's evident of the OVITT Family Community Library targeting, stalking. You are monitoring, you are engaging in what is stalking. You're doing so, that's how you're recognizing family members that are stalking while they're monitoring you. This is Satan that thought he had the ultimate plan to engage in stalking those closest to you. And it's supposed to, when you're understanding traditional stalking and that term, outside of understanding what is monitoring and how you're accomplishing monitoring and the malicious ways to accomplish monitoring, those that are subject to that, which is demonic in and of itself. 5JMT337, 6UAT275, I believe I documented that already. All right, and that's how you're stalking somebody where you live. It's first of all, the first layer is because they're monitoring. So you are in someone's presence while you're monitoring them, and you're monitoring not as an individual, you're monitoring as an entity. Specifically, it's a public entity. The government is monitoring, and they're doing it through your family members who are also stalkers because they're engaging in what is presence on behalf of the government that doesn't have a warrant to keep you under surveillance through your family members, hence stalking. Very malicious. 8ZLD 107. NZ216 handicap, 8NAV234, 7DYG071, 7YDT692, 8EJP797, 7HWG357, 5BPL705, 8A24969, 6WME243, 6TBV028, 9VFP848. 6 POV 347. HL562. A Vietnam veteran is an enemy of these United States gang stalking. The fake son is over me at this United Chiropractic Health Center. They're gang stalkers. And they have the audacity to vouch that there's some sort of Vietnam veteran. They're a demon and they're an enemy of the United States. And that's exactly what a gang stalking family member is, a gang stalking police officer is, a gang stalking veteran is. That oxymoron. Okay, license HL562, handicap, license 8BEY959, license 7WUZ640. The United Chiropractic Health Center, gang stalking. The entity flying right over them, they're stalking the entire time, every plane. license 94266M2, stalking and obsessively monitoring with these demons that are pacing, crossing my path. They're doing so as a business. It is currently 10:26 a.m. and if they weren't stalking, then the sun would be over the OVITT Family Community Library and they wouldn't have anything to worry about. But that's not the case. And it also doesn't change when the entity's covering up the fake sun as though it doesn't exist. That's why you document, because everybody knows that the fake sun exists. I've already documented over me, including later than this time, just yesterday. License 38720, handicap. Stalking in the path while they park next to me to get out of the vehicle, which is activity creation under a fake sun that's moving as I move. That's how you're stalking. The entity thinks that it's clever when it's your mom, when it's your brother. Now you're supposed to look crazy while they are stalking you. And you're supposed to look crazy while you don't want to speak with them. And the ordinary targeted individual may be one that say that they are terrified of their family that's been torturing them in ways that you don't know of. And they are creating an illusion of mental illness. If that family member starts screaming because they're terrified of what their family's done to them, while they've seen them manifest as demons and they don't know how to describe that, while they've been tortured in concert with the police and they don't know how to tell and they haven't told anyone that, but they're creating the illusion of mental illness while they've been gang stalked by their family that they don't want to be around. And the entity is using that to try to falsely depict their character, which in and of itself I find to be insufficient to defame. You're not assessing mental illness by that. And the entity that's engaged in targeting has insufficient evidence. That is not enough, especially when I've shown ongoing criminal surveillance, it's insufficient. Ongoing corruption, manufacturing mental illness, that is insufficient. And the laws are necessarily going to change. That's because of that, because of the corruption, because of the coexistence of surveillance, it is going to permanently change. License 7LEW863. You got a bunch of psychopaths sitting around on the sidewalk, stalking, maintaining presence of the past, sitting on the curb on Euclid, sitting on the curb at Lemon, while they are engaging what is maintaining, making sure somebody's present in the path. That's what these demons are doing. That's what they're doing through traffic, but that's what they're doing sitting around on these aren't just bums. They're bums, but these are demon-possessed bums that are maintaining presence. They're obsessively surrounding, making sure somebody is there, a body is there. They're demons. It's pathetic. The entity is engaging in this, and that is under no circumstances. That's not even evidence. That's I'm showing you. That's malice. That's not the practice of medicine. That is not the assessment of mental illness. And under facts of what is criminal surveillance, as I've shown, that is insufficient, and that will no longer be used to falsely depict the character of an American citizen. When they've been targeted in ways that the ordinary targeted individual can't even define or depict or prove when they don't have evidence. So the P.O.C. changes that, but it's also going to change the law. License. These demons are stalking. License 9KWJ387. Stalking under the fake sun that's still over this apartment building in the afternoon. 8HUE027. Stalking via traffic. It's not surveillance. This is the same corner where they're molesting my body with impossible light at night. 7ERJ857. This is where sex offenders are stalking during the day. They're doing the same thing under a fake sun. That's how they're all touching me. License 9EMA461. It is a sex offense committed by the government that's obsessively stalking you. Obsessively. 6WKW310. 9AYT264. Stalking with the Ontario Police and are co-conspirators in murder. Stalking with the Ontario International Airport. Co-conspirators of murder. Very specific. Very specific. P.O.C. As the fake sun moves, a stalker. 9ETD722. The fake sun's no longer over ARCO, over me at ARCO, 4RPG984. It sits still for hours, and then the moment that I move, that's when that fake sun moves, okay? And by hours, I mean covering it up in the morning, like they did, anticipating Eric and Tracy were going to approach. That's no deviation from the P.O.C. These are delusional psychopaths. 9PSS133. I'm going to let you know how this is going to go. The entity is engaging in what is a malicious iteration of the P.O.C. criminal summoning. You're going to juxtapose the act of kidnapping by that entity. At that same evidence, you're going to show the same time where the fake sun is shining brightly. And that's what I do. I show you the malice of psychopaths that engage in criminal summoning, cover up the fake sun while the gang stalking demons wearing police uniforms step into the building. And I'll remind you, and that's how you're going to prosecute. That's relevant to malice. That's why they go to prison. That's exactly why. Tracy and Eric are going to prison. The fake sun rise and set is already documented at ARCO. 6NYD049. 89209N1, and they are conspiring my murder in my face. Understand that that's psychological torture. They wish that I wasn't as composed as I am. They wish that I would just have a freak out in the middle of the street, so that would help them with the defamatory statements that they've already made in court that they are bound by. They're going to prison. They're going to prison. But that's why they do that. Understand that they have very ill intentions by coming. They are hoping and wishing that I would come apart at the seams. But as I'm showing you, and it's unfair, because I have to speak that and maintain that, but you shouldn't have to. You cannot prescribe how someone should behave under circumstances of being targeted. You shouldn't have to do that. But because I am both targeted individual and prosecutor, I am showing you what is the malice behind what they do. And even when a human being freaks out, cusses out their family member, get out of my face, I don't want it. You can't tell them how to behave. And that's not evidence of mental illness. They are targeting them. You can't tell someone how to behave, and that's exactly what the entity is doing. That's not a standard. And to be frank, if you can't tell by my voice, it's frankly annoying. It's sickening to me, because the entity is engaged in that, and that's fine. I am a professional. I will compose myself, but you cannot tell any human being how they're supposed to behave, especially when you could not handle it. You could not handle it at all. Not even a fraction of it. 8LGD160, and that's the purpose of it. They want me to engage in, that's what they're hoping for. But even if that were the case, my point is that that is not going to help them with what is defamation under all circumstances. Under all circumstances. They're going to prison. 9SSN938, 8FNJ888, 85033Z3. That's a commercial vehicle. License 29491Y2, driving with their turn signal on, driving straight. 7JVW137, 9BGX768. And this is the same street with the fake sun over me where it's over at sunrise. Remember the Ontario police thinking that it's funny when I'm getting them on July 14, 2025, when they're putting up a sign and just calling gang stalking police training, because they think that who they are, that they will get away with targeting an American citizen, and that is not the case. Because of who they are, they're going to prison. It's the exact opposite. This is the same street where the entity has that fake sun at 7 in the morning. That's 7:13. This is the same street. C Street in Euclid. They were calling it police training at the Vos Church, 303 East Euclid Avenue. This is the same street right here where you're listening to that noise in the background. That's interchange that with plane activity. I just took a picture of the fake sun. This is the same downtown luxury apartments where they're holding rifles. They're wearing their bulletproof vests. They're communicating a threat. It's about stalking me and my path. And the sun is not going to be over ARCO at 7 and still remaining over me at 10. The sun is not going to be over ARCO at 6 while I'm documenting police training by the demons that are gang stalking as a fake police department. License plate 8BEP506. Those are the demons that are engaged in that P.O.C. with cockroaches that are hiding in fire trucks. Michael GERKEN is done. He's pathetic. License plate Omnitrans 1545684. Stalking under the fake sun. Let me show you these demons. They've shown you their demon possession as well. Stalking me at the OVITT Family Community Library with impossible light while they drive by. License 1332569. They've shown you that they're demons. 7VHN888. The gang stalkers of the Upland Police Department have that same uncanny ability to produce light out of darkness. Light that illuminates the sidewalk while they're driving. That's not sunlight. And it's not sunlight when demons are driving their vehicles and engineer lights swiping all across the sidewalk. Those are demons manifesting. And those demons are calling themselves hiding as terrorists in this country, hiding behind the name of a fire department. And Michael GERKEN is being relieved. They're all being relieved because those are terrorists. Those are psychopaths and murderers that dress up in costumes so that you can't recognize them. 8UFU640. That's P.O.C. They're under the fake sun that's still at this same exact block at 6 o'clock in the evening. It does not get any clearer than that. 7TKU350, 7XMT248. Pathetic. Demons. License 1628773. The criminal misuse of a fire truck is your removal from that line of work. All right, they're going to be prosecuted as a whole department. They're a terrorist agency. 19379F2. And all they do is sound their sirens, driving around in circles, psychopaths obsessed with my vagina. They're sex offenders. They are demons, and they're engaged in the conspiracy to commit murder as a fire department that's engaged in criminal surveillance, in fact. VERHUVN. Gang stalking. That's it. It's pathetic. License plate 6ZCT544. They're going out of their way, gassing up fire trucks to drive by me. because I'm the one that garners attention. I'm the one that they're targeting. I'm the one that's exposing that they're all cockroaches under a fake sun, speaking to the closeted mental illness that's no longer a secret. Mental illness is also the basis for removing the Ontario Fire Department. They're unstable and they cannot be trusted based on their criminal engagement in the pattern of conduct as well, but they cannot be trusted because they're incompetent. License 8DHM136, 4UXU258, 9JV881. The fake sun is moving over me while FedEx is a demon. All right, FedEx has a demon operating the vehicle with light activity flashing while a demon goes to the drive-through window under the fake sun. These are what are the demons that are, again, engaging in gang stalking with the corrupt business, Wells Fargo. Doing so while they are accessing the ATM. A malicious guise of the P.O.C. coming out in engineer light, license 86599Z2. It's the same exact pattern of conduct. FedEx gang stalking me with LAPD using their helicopters. The same exact pattern of conduct. This is criminal facilitation, 6RQE755. FedEx is targeting furtherance of murder, 9DWV503. FedEx is doing so under the fake sun at Wells Fargo. The same fake sun that's still here long after FedEx drives away. FedEx is part of the same entity, that's P.O.C. All right, the entity is doing so. FedEx is engaged in federal stalking and furtherance of murder, okay? They're engaged in this system exposing public corruption, and they're doing so with specific knowledge of me. That's why the fake sun is now over Wells Fargo, and it's not over the OVITT Family Community Library like it customarily is at 10 o'clock when I'm there at the entrance, when those are all demons waiting to get inside of that library. That's not the sun. That's why it's over me at the ARCO. And the entity is engaging in what is keeping the fake sun at that parking lot where demons are stalking in commercial planes. This is the site where Wells Fargo is engaging in what is speaking a lot of violent speech, calling me outside of my name, all of that's unfitting of a federal prosecutor, by the way, with my level of ability and competence. And they engage in that. Why? Because they're proven to be stalking and monitoring my vagina in particular, 7BPP291. Okay, and that midget with the mildew socks and the mildew Air Force Ones that got up to come and stalk me, okay, and doing so, incentivized to do so, focused on me, stalking me, while at the same time engaging in what was a failed effort of trying to, you're stalking me, you're the one that's embarrassed. That's why you went out of your way to be in my path, wanting what is negative attention. In other words, but that's what the entity committed, and I'm going to remind you about that. I'm going to repost that act of violence by the city of Ontario that are speaking as the state, that are harassing while they're engaging what is showing their obsession with you. A whole bunch of demons that are sitting around like it's reality TV while they're watching their impending doom that is being televised. Okay, they're engaging in that, paying attention to my podcast, looking at everything while they're wanting at the same time to feign being strangers. They're not strangers under the fake sun. They're psychopaths. This is a demon-possessed population, and they've all been embarrassed by the criminal conduct that they've been engaging in for years, and they're going to be prosecuted accordingly. That's the reality of what they're engaged in. And coming around stalking me, engaging what is cussing me out on behalf of what is Wells Fargo. I'm going to prosecute that company that's conspiring my murder and speaking to me like that. In doing so, I'm going to prosecute the city of Ontario conspiring my murder and speaking to me is a federal offense because you're monitoring me in that manner. And doing so through the likes of such an imbecile that's communicating unlawful threat while you're obsessively stalking under such violent means in the first place because you are seeking to obstruct justice like you're trying to intimidate me by some little pipsqueak who's stalking me. It's never worked, and that's the entity that's going to put itself in federal prison. I will remind you about that demon. I will be putting it on the internet because I'm going to repost that. That is the entity that's showing obsession with me. In the same way that they're stalking. Who's flying at the end of that video where I'm documenting what is harassment by the entity? The same sex offenders, Ontario police. That was all state action. And going out of your way, stalking me because you're triggered, because you're very much bothered by my opinion of you. You're very much bothered and consumed with what it is that I say about you while you're stalking me. You're stalking me. That's you stalking me. And you are very much triggered because you failed in trying to stalk me and make me look like I'm imagining it. And because you engaged in that, in the very foolish way, maintaining serial flight, just like I said last night at the Ontario Town Square, the moment that I move, that's when the flight activity moves. That's what they're doing at the ARCO. And they're doing so in a manner that Saris Regis and ARCO and Chevron and every other business is going to be prosecuted for. It's a criminal conspiracy to commit murder, gang stalking together, targeting together. Doing so while they're sitting up watching the evidence, and then they engage in documented acts of retaliation, which is not retaliation, it's documented criminal conduct while a stalker is engaging in what is harassing you. But even failing in that, Because wait, you're stalking. So let's remember, everyone pay attention when they make all these statements right now and everybody gets around a whole bunch of boys that are scared of me, that are talking about, they're all stalking me. Remember that. So you're stalking as a whole group. That is literally group stalking. They're all stalking together and they all held out their phones. You were looking at what was gang stalking. They all had their phones. Those demons that pulled up in the white pickup truck, phone in hand, ready. They're not only gang stalkers, they're bad actors. They're unintelligent. You can tell that that was staged. You could tell that they were, okay, good. Now, jump in now. It was so provoked, so forced, and it was also very unnatural, very disturbing. Actually, those are demons. That was demonic activity, and it was demonic activity that was on behalf of an embarrassed government that's going to be prosecuted for embarrassing things, facts such as monitoring the genitalia of a woman, stalking in places like bathrooms, and it's going on the criminal record of demons that are going to federal prison for acts of terrorism. It is currently, by the way, 10:41 a.m. This is an entity that's engaging in what is stalking one person as a population, and that is only done because that entity intends to commit murder and get away with it by numbers. Okay, so in the same way that their bullying conduct has failed, that same failed bullying system is what is used to prove conspiracy to murder. That's what you're getting from that. This is P.O.C. It is currently 10:40. 9TUJ600 surveillance, keeping me under surveillance at Ontario Town Square. 36129 Yolanda 3, surveillance at Wells Fargo. The entity is engaging in surveillance. For example, FedEx that's going to Wells Fargo that's closed. Even if it's open, FedEx is still gang stalking, but FedEx knows that it's closed. They were stalking in the path with light activity. 7DGT788 gang stalking. That's all that these businesses are. They are a guise for stalking in the path. It is going into Starbucks under the fake sun in the impossible light activity, engaging in the elements of monitoring while purchasing coffee, which is a criminal act upon federal group stalking and monitoring. It's the federal RICO case. And you will be subject to being a barista, gang stalking, and federal prison. The charges escalate that rapidly with regard to the state's engagement in monitoring American citizens. This is P.O.C. All right, 12:41 p.m. You will see the City of Ontario maintaining surveillance through the construction that they're maintaining throughout the streets. This is maintaining light activity. This is covering all bases regarding any movement. And this is the same conduct that's accomplished when demons are all around you and the fake sun remains on me, okay? 8AIB534, Paving Company Incorporated, Onyx, they're gang stalking. Listen to the ignition. There you go, he's monitoring. License 62040K3. He's stalking in the middle of the street. This is a Latino male. He is gang stalking me while I am walking through the neighborhood. I've documented this neighborhood very heavily. The City of Ontario is gang stalking under the guise of construction. I'm at B Street, B as in boy, and Palm Avenue. Okay, so they're maintaining light activity. The construction underway on Euclid Avenue, on C Street, through these neighborhoods, they're maintaining light activity. Okay, so I'm putting up the lighting, the signage, open trench. They're digging in the side. This is Leonida Builders, gang stalking in front of the OVITT Family Community Library, leaving their trucks around the perimeter of the entrance. You can remove all that and have the fake sun. It's accomplishing the same criminal purpose. This is the City of Ontario facilitating criminal surveillance. License 48078K1. License 8XRE567. License 6XSU851. 6LNZ921. And everyone needs to be aware of those particularly despicable demons that like to hide under the guise of being a fake church. Another iglesia, perhaps I.I.S needs to pay attention. Iglesia Adventista del Séptimo Día. They're gang stalking demons. All right, they are on what is B Street And they are at 316 B Street in particular. And this building, I don't know what year, particularly Iglesia might have been here. I'd have to do my research into my evidence because I've documented this neighborhood before. However, the entity moves, different occupants inside of the same structure. So I do want to document this address though, and this is relevant for what is potentially deportation of gang stalkers. 9BCV 970, and they're all monitoring while the entity is stalking as an airport. All right, you're not taking off from the airport, hovering over the town square. You're not taking off from the town square. You're hovering and stalking throughout the city of Ontario and every gang stalking church. Those are the despicable ones that are demons that like to use the name of Christ as audible activity. Yeah, they call themselves Rock of Faith too. Those are demons monitoring. Engage in criminal conduct and then hold church services on Sunday. That's Satan. License 81016 Charlie 4. License 7PRY 582. That's Satan. 4FPP 698 is the particular license of that demon going into a fake church, gang stalking and doing so by placement at Fern and B Street. Fern and B as in boy, 6SOW116. Another demon associated with being a veteran, which is bringing nothing other than shame. United States Marine, license 5S61208, a demon, okay? A vagina monitoring psychopath, worthy of no honor whatsoever, bringing shame. Okay, to titles that do have ordinarily what are something that is august and noble, but that is not what is a gang stalking former veteran. It's literally another oxymoron when you're paying attention to the corruption of those engaging in what is absurdly criminal and sick behavior while hiding under the guise of their appearance to the world, which is how they commit it and target innocent American citizens. 6NRH724, because no one's going to, the average person, I'm not going to say no one because I would not engage in assuming that someone is lying or just jumping to the conclusion that they're crazy because you don't know personally their experience, or because they might not be the most eloquent at describing their experiences. All right. But anyway, the average person is not going to listen to some quote unquote nobody over, for example, a veteran or somebody that has some sort of acronym under their name or initials in front of their name, which is supposed to give them some sense of credibility. And that's a lie out of the pit of hell. And you need to open your eyes. 7YZN148. 6ZLJ856. Most people you're talking about in this time, in this world that we're in. And this is not cynicism. This is the reality, people. I'm documenting a whole state, okay? This is not cynicism. This is the reality. Most people are getting into these positions. That's what's going on in California, at least. Everybody. They get into positions of authority to abuse it. And they cannot be trusted. As opposed to someone like myself who attained the title Juris Doctor, Esquire, ESQ, to help other people. But that's not the genuine interest of those that are in positions of authority. 9LZG403, and that is also not a basis to supersede the claims of any American citizen with regard to what is this criminal system. Never again should you be defaming anybody. You need to learn to watch your mouth. Watch your mouth regarding curses that you speak over people as you're perpetuating, first of all, witchcraft. You are exacerbating harms caused by a whole entity of demons that are deriving pleasure out of it while nobody believes them and they're really suffering. They are actually suffering. You're adding to it. License 8NAW392, and that's how that system is designed. 5NHN838. 4RVZ764. And the entity engages in that conduct with that intention, with that knowledge. That's the design. The entity engages in targeting American citizens in this manner, knowing that it is automatically written off as, oh, they're crazy. Okay, yeah, they don't make any sense of that. But the entity, well, you can tell that the entity is targeting me because they tried that on me, and there's a whole elaborate, organized, well thought out and palatable, things that are of higher thought, things that you are not learned in. And I made it palatable so that anybody can understand it, because it doesn't help you if you don't understand what it is that I'm talking about. If I try to speak in some manner and use words that you don't know the definition, that doesn't help you. Okay, so this is an entity, they tried to write me. No, it's very difficult for Satan to try to make me look like a fool or make me look or sound stupid. You can't. Okay, and that's not ego, that's just the truth. Okay, I'm educated and trained and having a legal skill set and exposing what is criminal conduct that's unprecedented. It's so sick and demented, it's never been heard of, and I had to lay out groundwork in order to show you that this is a violation of the law. This is how the malice of this is showing how they are engaging in violation of the law under the guise of everyday life and the operation of law-abiding citizens and the government that's supposed to, on its surface, appearing as though it's properly functioning within its authority. And that's all an illusion. It's all malicious. It's public corruption at an unprecedented level. Just because you've never heard of it does not mean that it's not a crime. There are plenty of crimes that had to be acknowledged and ratified, put into existence before they were written down. They were crimes. Before rape was acknowledged, okay, women had to be acknowledged as human beings that have a right to maintain sovereignty over their bodies. That was not always acknowledged as a crime and written into law and respected and upheld in courts. That was not always the case. Just because you have not heard of it, enter in Erica Spencer in the P.O.C. Here it is. And it's very real. 9TUE 628, 6TBG 821. All right, that's P.O.C. The entity is following me with planes. And you already know that, going much more west than the Ontario Town Square. That's what these fools engage in every day. They're always, because they're stalking and they are relegated to the role of following me. And so they're following to a direction which is much more west. So then, oh, okay, so you're still not taking off. Because you're still maintaining what is that same elevation when you're acting like you're taking off over the town square, which is east of this location. And guess what? They're doing that because the people are gang stalking with that. They need that plane activity over everybody that is gang stalking as a whole citywide effort. It is the removal of the airport. It is the removal of the gang stalking demons sounding sirens. It's surveillance in furtherance of murder. And that's exactly what you're doing when every business, every household, every location, and at all times are engaging in criminal monitoring, which is stalking. Stalking at your business, stalking at your home, stalking at your place of work, stalking when you're traveling on the roads and the highways. That's the P.O.C. Alrighty, so I am now at what is Vine and HOLT. And I've documented all this. Emporia Place, fake sun, documentation. Yeah, it's all on the record already. P.O.C. These demons are gang stalking LNR Auto Repair. Oh, they're long overdue with being, this is a little mom and pop company that's entirely corrupt. And if there are any immigrants, I would suggest that I.I.S raid them first. All right, that's how despicable they are with regard to engaging in the pattern of conduct for years, and they're still gang stalking now. And they engaged in what is assault with a deadly weapon, as I documented years ago. And they do so as an entity, just like the entity is engaging in what is harassment and cussing me out at the bank. That's the same bank that has the fake sun and engineer light sprawling across the sidewalk while systematic monitoring is underway. And all those demons were chuckling and holding up their cell phones like psychopaths, laughing at what's not funny. They didn't even have a joke. They just want to appear on social media. Oh, look, they're making fun. They were stalking. You're not winning or making any jokes. I'm the one that pops jokes. I'm the one that's actually funny. Because I'm not the weirdo in this situation. I'm not stalking you. I'm actually making jokes because you're stalking me. And I'm showing how pathetic that is, especially when it's put in the proper perspective. When you want to be seen, which is ridiculous. How do you want to be seen, or anyone in their right mind that's not a demon would perceive a demon that is stalking someone as a whole entity, a whole group is cool under any circumstances. That's how pathetic the demon-possessed are. That's pathetic. That is absolutely pathetic. I don't know where you get, well, I know you get it from the pit of hell, but I'm the one that actually is popping jokes that are actually funny. And that's also why they're mad. So they just engaged in what is laughing when nothing was funny because they want to switch, but you're not switching roles with me. And by the way, you're in my path because you're obsessively stalking me. There's nothing funny. That was forced laughter by demons that are embarrassed and that were desperate, thirsty for some sort of moment because I'm the one that generates all the attention. That's why they're stalking. And I'm the one that they're doing so on behalf of a whole state that's obsessed with me. That's why I laugh at you and pop jokes on you. And it's based on the truth. That's what makes it even funnier because my jokes are based on reality. And that's why it hurts your feelings because it's the truth. Any feelings that you actually have. These are demons with seared spirits. License 7KCD740, stalking under the fake sun. P.O.C. 1253. Remember, the entity has the fake sun over me, at Downtown Luxury Apartments, 7V90830, where the Ontario International Airport is engaging what is incriminating Sarah's Regis Group that I'm going to drag in federal court. I'm going to prosecute them. That's what that vernacular is a reference to. Drag, meaning I'm going to prosecute you to an extensive degree with regard to the obvious and blatant and long existing body of evidence showing that Sarah's Regis Group is targeting, while the City of Ontario is keeping a fake sun, while Sarah's Regis Group is stalking as an apartment complex in the path in order to facilitate a government system of criminally monitoring me, psychologically torturing, preceding what is conspiracy to commit murder. That's why they have that fake sun. That's why that apartment complex is gang stalking. That's why the government is targeting with planes over that apartment building in an environment where I can show that that is the case, because today the fake sun is over the Ontario Shopping Village at the same time. And it's over the West Valley Detention Center at the same time, 12:51 p.m. in Rancho Cucamonga, where Sarah's Regis and Shannon Dyke, San Bernardino County, they don't have any sort of sky space in common with regard to that being the natural environment. And that unnatural environment is evidence of the state of California targeting me. Scientific evidence, by the way. License 7XRG653 and 9PRV768. Omnitrans is gang stalking. You already know that. There's no sun remaining in their windows when I'm walking far away from for example, walking away from anywhere, when I'm remaining anywhere, not on their bus, but they have the sun over me on every route. Every route that I'm on, no matter what time of the day. Route 61 at Juniper and San Bernardino, fake sun at 5 p.m. Route 61 on Juniper and San Bernardino at 9 o'clock in the morning. Going toward Fontana, going toward Ontario, opposite routes. Same pattern of conduct. Same impossible environment outside of my window in alignment to me. Demons stalking with light on the roads and the highways. Federal stalking. License 9LJN846, 9PRV768. That's a prosecution of Sarah's Regis. Just to give you a hint regarding that legal analysis of a whole state. License 5LIU679. The demons are sex offenders that are pacing all around like psychopaths under a fake sun. 9CEM015, and very much, very hostile, because they're stalking me, and I've proven that they're stalking me, and I make jokes about them stalking me in the ridiculous manners that they do. License 9USS625, like being under a fake sun, where I can hold a class full of 7-year-olds and 8-year-olds, and we can together go over what is impossible for the state of California to avoid a prosecution for terrorism, based on science regarding what even 7- and 8-year-olds know about the sun. What even the Bible itself says about the sun. Are you kidding? Yeah, the entity is going to be prosecuted, and the entity is stalking in the face of that evidence, and that stupidity is going to be used against them as well. License plates, excuse me, not license plate, but it's 12:56 p.m. So I'm now at the Ontario Village, and that criminal pattern of conduct follows. This is the incrimination of the entire entity, because that crime scene follows where I go, because the demons are stalking, which they've also exhibited when the fake sun remains on Euclid Avenue from F Street to C Street, but not today. And even if trying to cover it up, I've already shown that the fake sun is directly over Ontario Town Square. License 9GLX092, 6ZZD751, 7PBX316. 8TTG140, 8FIH778, 7JHP667. P.O.C. I'm at Stater Brothers, where you're recalling the fake sun is over me while the demons are monitoring my vagina in this bathroom in the morning. And remember, the fake sun was underneath, so low it was aimed underneath this covered structure of this broad entrance, an impossible placement of the sun. It's also impossible when that fake sun is remaining over me at the Ontario Town Square. The two are not happening at the same time. Yeah, the entity is stalking, and businesses are going to be prosecuted for what they are. They're stalking while they're monitoring pursuant to a state system. P.O.C. I am referencing surveillance cameras. Everybody in the grocery store. This is how pathetic they are, and you're looking at everybody that's gang stalking me. Everyone knows that I'm here, and everyone's actually monitoring me, and this is exposing mental illness, it's exposing malice, and exposing public corruption. And it's also removing the illusions of these companies that you support and what they are actually about, contrary to how they present themselves to the public. P.O.C. Okay, the violent sex offenders whose license plate you listened to as I walk into the entrance of the
Stater Brothers, quote unquote, family markets. It's not a family market when they're monitoring your vagina. It's a market of sex offenders who are roaming around on surveillance cameras, pushing carts and wearing what are, I think those are managerial levels, the one that walk around with the black slacks and the button-up shirts. Those are sex offenders. They're monitoring my vagina inside of what is a deceptive misnomer, a family market. They're engaging in the federal offense, the sex crime of bathroom monitoring, and the entity maintains violent noise as they are aware that my vagina is exposed and I'm bent over. That's the moment that they engage in that activity creation, which is amplified in volume, while sex offenders, hundreds of them all together, who are in relevant position, and remember, the entire state is monitoring my vagina, but there are hundreds that are around me right now sharing in that sex act as they're engaging in that together. And you are also aware, while you look at scores of people in traffic, in the parking lot, on camera, inside of the grocery store, on camera in the parking lot as well, then they're engaging in what is stalking in planes and helicopters, like the city of Ontario has already shown that that's what they're doing concerning me. They're all doing so while they're all aware that I'm bent over and my vagina is exposed, and that's when a demon is on cue, stalking with amplified noise, which in and of itself is demented, but it's also sexually motivated. And that's what family markets is directly rebutted by. It's a deceptive misnomer. Okay, Kia, she's an African American with a wig on. She's gang stalking at one of the registers. She's a homosexual, and she is monitoring my vagina inside of the bathroom with every other gang stalker inside of that grocery store and outside, as I'm subject to statewide surveillance at Stater Brothers via Stater Brothers. Okay, this is P.O.C. It is currently 1:08 p.m. This is bathroom monitoring. The violent sex offense committed by Julia Gu and Ronald Leverage, as well as Jim Bowman, Alan D. Wapner. Yeah, the sex crime, the stalking, it continues in the bathroom. And that's why I want you to see when they're engaging in that psychopathic pacing, because that's what they do. That's the frenzy that they commit when they're monitoring my vagina. Okay, that's what you need to know about Ronald Leverage. That cheesy grin and his squinting eyes behind those big goggles he's wearing, he's a sex offender. Yeah, he's a sex offender. He's engaged in monitoring my vagina just like that. And he is monitoring while I give you his description, and that amplified noise, which is not natural noise creation, is pursuant to what is engineered light, which you've seen at Stater Brothers, including above all those demons' head on the ceiling inside of the store, while they're walking all around in engineered light with communication devices, keeping a woman's vagina under surveillance, and the evidence of them keeping her vagina under surveillance. Ronald Leverage is one of those old dirty bastards that are gang stalking and calling himself an authority on the airport board. That sex offender is being removed, okay? That's P.O.C. Ronald Leverage is not an authority of an airport board. He's a domestic terrorist, and he's a violent vagina monitoring sex offender who's acting in furtherance of murder. That's why he's monitoring my vagina, okay? That's the P.O.C. And you have what are hundreds that don't have an adequate criminal record for being predators, just like this, roaming around without the adequate label. That's the purpose of gang stalking being prosecuted in the way in which I have advocated. And that's what Eric Spencer and Tracy Banks have been acting in furtherance of for years, and they thought that it was going to destroy me to the point that they would be successful with regard to mischaracterizing my character, well, defaming my character, while they were targeting me the whole time and thought that a whole population targeting me was going to cause me to have a breakdown and create the illusion before a court that is also gang stalking to engage in what is stealing successfully my property after they stole it at the outset, which would never make what are those court hearings legitimate, but this is the corrupt government that's being prosecuted. I just want to be clear. And it's the same with Jason Isaac Fields. All right, this is P.O.C. They are accessing the bathroom through codes. That's irrelevant regarding a paper trail. I'm in the bathroom. I'm the source. They're on surveillance cameras going inside of that hallway with regard to where I am the focus. They are doing so in an environment where the government is stalking by planes. I am the focus. Everything that is occurring in the city while the federal government is engaging in investigation, I am the focus, and I'm the context regarding everything that's happening. And it's pursuant to, right now, monitoring my vagina. Okay? That's the P.O.C. And the entities engaging in this shared pattern of conduct, OVITT Family Community Library. They like to use those terms, family, children, when they engage in the most egregious acts of sexual violence. That's where they're committing outright violence of a sexual nature. And that's exactly where you start your investigation. This is getting to the malice of the demons. Okay? That's P.O.C. Alrighty, it is, by the way,
1:11 p.m. That's the entity that's engaging what is monitoring my exposed genitalia with that amplified noise, doing so with real-time knowledge about the status of my anatomy, knowledge of everything that's going on in a bathroom, while they are all together engaging what is surveillance via communication devices. This is a sexually violent pattern of conduct under Title 18, Section 2261A, subsections 1 and 2. And what remains directly relevant is gang stalking of helicopter. That's also letting you know on a common sense basis the entity is reasonably maintaining surveillance in this manner in the way in which I have exactly laid out. It's also relevant to the surveillance by that airport that is reasonably engaging in the same exact pattern of conduct in the way in which I have already laid out. It didn't take a pause, and this is how it happens in places like bathrooms. When demons aren't thinking about that, and they're engaging in what is chasing me down in planes and helicopters, and they're also chasing me into bathrooms, obsessed with what's between my legs. Obsessed. P.O.C. It is currently 1:12 p.m. Kia is going to be prosecuted as a sex offender that she is. All right, working at the grocery store is a guise for what is her appetite for sexual violence of a homosexual nature. P.O.C. Okay, Andres, Andres. This is the gang stalker monitoring my vagina as well. He is the one monitoring me as the clerk at the register, ringing me up for my purchases on camera. Doing so and then he is engaged in what is giving me the code to go into the restroom. Andres is a sex offender as well. Stater Brothers is a sex offender. Kia is gang stalking as well. But Andres is the specific demon, as I am documenting Stater Brothers and the third party, as many as you can. But Andre, I don't know if the S is silent or not, Andres. This is a Latino male, and he's engaged in the sex offense. While you're hearing that audible activity, Andres is being prosecuted as a sex offender. He's a part of the entity, and this is also Maria Escobar, the store manager, engaging in the same pattern of conduct that I documented the previous store manager. It was a male. I documented him targeting me as the manager at this corrupt establishment for years as well. Maria Escobar is the same criminal entity engaging in that P.O.C. She's just making money and being in a position that she is unfit to be in, trying to represent some family market that's engaged in what is monitoring vagina in the bathroom. That's what Maria Escobar doesn't want you to know about, and that's the truth. And she's a terrorist gang stalking with the city of Ontario, okay? Facilitating sexual violence in the store, criminal monitoring in the store, and facilitating it amongst the public, and is aware that she's being documented, aware that Andres and Kia is being documented, aware that I'm in the facility, or excuse me, the establishment, documenting, aware of all that because of the nature of the crime is surveillance. And the entity that you hear, when you hear that ongoing noise in the bathroom, just like when I'm outside and the entity engages in stalking with plane activity, they do so while you're documenting it. This is exactly what's going to hurt them in court. That's sexual violence that they engage in. They do the same thing regarding children. They don't care how much that child cries, don't touch them, I don't want to do it anymore. They engage in more and more of it. In fact, if you have the audacity to try to report it, they'll engage in more sexual violent acts against those children, against those who they think don't have a right to enforce their rights against it. This is occurring in a sexual context right now with regard to monitoring my vagina in a bathroom. That's all relevant to what is the ongoing audible activity creation and the psychopathic pacing that they do centered around a private space like a bathroom, where no government has any legitimate interest in a bathroom. It would be one thing to engage in surveillance, but the entities engaged in surveillance, they do so in a bathroom. That's a whole other level of mental illness, of sexual perversion, of obsession. That's a whole other level there. So, and that's also something that you're going to analyze, which is exactly what I've done. Okay? P.O.C. That is Andres gang stalking, and that receipt is a part of the evidence against Stater Brothers, which is a third-party facilitating venue. Documented fake sunrise, documented fake sun in the middle of the day over my head, documented gang stalking by the Ontario Police, documented criminal summoning, documented ongoing acts of targeting and harassment with implausible light inside of the venue, which is all terrorism. And then they're monitoring my vagina on top of that. I'm going to prosecute this so-called family market. This is P.O.C. It is currently 1:18 p.m. Andres, thank you, Andres. Kia, gang stalking, pacing while the demons are, remember, so this is the image. The entity is always maintaining presence in your path, just like and by presence in your path, imagine standing, let's picture a circle in your mind. Draw a circle in your mind. And then put a dot in the middle of the circle. And that line that makes the actual circle, everyone is surrounding. And if you put a line and cut that circle in half, if you will, that's called stalking in the path. From the dot and the line, they're all in alignment to you, maintaining ongoing presence, and they do so even while moving. But they're not going anywhere. All they're doing is going around in a circle all around you. This is what an entity is doing, while the fake sun is where the dot is in the middle. It's over the dot, okay? And the entity is doing this. The objective is to maintain presence in the past. So that's what they're doing in the bathroom. You'll have a sex offender that's engaging in that by going in a bathroom as an entity, a sex offender, going into the bathroom and maintaining presence in the path. The noise that's created, this is demonic. It's as supernatural as the fake sun. So everything that's happening in the bathroom has some escalated supernatural volume. That's for impact regarding monitoring. They like to do that. Ooh, she's bent over now. Her panties are down. Now sound. While a stalker and a sex offender, by definition, goes to stalk in the path. That's what they're doing in the male and female restrooms. That's what they're doing in the planes and helicopters. As you're picturing the circle in your mind, the dot in the middle of the circle, you put a line through the center of that circle because you're understanding what is stalking in the path. They're maintaining presence. People in front of you, people in back of you, people to the sides, to the right and left. And they're maintaining they don't have to be standing next to you. You don't have to know their name. They're maintaining presence and alignment to you. While they're crossing that line by crossing your path, they are stalking in your path. That's how you're monitoring. And it's all happening while engineer light is filling that circle. Okay, keep the circle in your mind. What color in that circle? With orange light. Okay, but that orange light is engineer light. Okay, so this is not normal light. This is special. So it's not even going to be orange, neon green light. Okay, this is engineer light, like radioactive light. Okay, and the entity is maintaining presence in your path through that circle where that dot in the middle, that's the target. Okay, and the entity is engaging in what is amplified noise as they are all surrounding, stalking in the path in that engineer light, which is filling the circle. It covers everything at all times, day and night. Day and night, as I've shown you the P.O.C. That's what they're doing in the bathroom, stalking in the path. All I'm doing is showing you what is a sex offender. And they already know what you're doing in the bathroom. I'm not only going to prosecute because spiritually demons are watching you and they're monitoring what you're doing, but you can't prosecute based on intuition, and you can't prosecute based on spiritual discernment, or that would literally be a witch hunt, and that's dangerous for anybody. Even if Tracy Banks is a witch, which she is, you can't prosecute based on her opening up a spell book and reading whatever she wants to read. Now, that is relevant, though. However, when you're aware of these ages that we're in, it is relevant to what is an unlawful intent towards someone. Now, there's going to be other things. I want to be clear. A demon, they're going to show themselves. They're going to engage in acts that are under the law, that which you can act upon. They will. So it's not a matter of, man, you can't know. That's not true. Satan will act out. What is inside will always come out. Okay, it will always come out. Now, I just want to be clear. Ooh, peppers. I just want to be clear. The entity is engaging in conduct that is demonic in nature, number one, but it's also relevant. Sorry, I'm looking at food at the same time. Let me focus, and then I'll look at the food. I'm in the grocery store. Okay, so it's also relevant to what is necessary protection. So I'm not sore at all. I'm here to make sure that it's understood. The law is a beautiful thing. Law and order and proper procedure, that's a wonderful thing. I celebrate it. I'm here reiterating that. Okay, even witches have a right under the law not to be convicted and prosecuted and dragged into court because they want to worship Satan. That's your own business, but you don't have a right to engage in gang stalking somebody when you think that your witchcraft is invisible, and it's not. It's not. Okay? This is an entity that's engaging in this criminal activity, and when you're witnessing, understanding the purpose of the circle that I'm telling you in the engineer light, the reason why I said do green instead of yellow or orange as you would typically imagine light is because it's for illustrative purposes. This is not normal light. You've seen the light shooting off of their cars. What is that? Exactly. It's not. This is abnormal light, and in that environment, they are stalking in the path. And all they're doing, big picture, they have a circle around me, figuratively speaking, and all they're doing is pacing all around. And that is the same thing as one person maintaining presence, following me around everywhere. But they're not doing it by one person because the entity is creating the illusion that you're not being stalked by anybody because one person, the same person, is not following you around. It's the same entity that is following you around. As that environment, that neon green, that ongoing circle around you is remaining present. And how do you identify that? A fake sun. that moves as you move. It doesn't go anywhere for the duration of the day. That's how you're identifying that environment, that circle that you're in the center of. It moves as you move. That whole environment is following. That's an entity that is stalking, and it's a demonic entity, and it is, with regard to prosecution, a public entity. So in the bathroom, all I'm doing is providing what is a legal framework for what is sexual violence by demons that never thought that they were going to be caught. And I'm not prosecuting based on intuition and discernment. I'm prosecuting basing on the tangible evidence, what they're doing. And it is demonic. It's demonic. So the amplified noise level is demonic, number one, but it's relevant to what is a sex offender that's in the path. They're in the path in the parking lot, even if they think they're clever and they'll keep the bathroom empty. The demons will go into the storage room. That's the walls and the ceilings and floors are no obstruction to stalking in the path. Satan is on the opposite side of the wall. Satan's above you on the first floor of the apartment. Satan's outside of the building, in the parking lot, in the vehicle. Satan is surrounding. They're gang stalking and monitoring your vagina while they keep that noise. When I said you have one part, you have all the other parts. That's exactly what's happening. But they are pacing in and out. They were making it clear. The demons are pacing. As they open up, everything takes on some amplified volume level. It's an earthquake when the door is open and closed, when a demon's monitoring your vagina in the bathroom. Okay? The hand dryer sounds like a tornado in the opposite room, like they're standing right next to you, blowing drying their hands off. That's amplification. While a demon, that's Satan, that is standing right in front of you. But they're in another room, not looking at you, and they're monitoring everything that you're doing, and they're doing so as a whole entity. Everybody in the parking lot is stalking in the path. All of them. Everybody in the grocery store, stalking in the path. And they're also very much triggered because I recite their criminal conduct in real time while I'm not even looking at them, because I'm not supposed to know that. That's how you get a gang stalker at Wells Fargo, stalking, and then engaging in what is failing at achieving what was the purpose in the first point, in the first place, which was supposedly trying to make me look like I should be embarrassed. So why would I be embarrassed when you're stalking me? Everybody knows that you are stalking by virtue of presence right here. So that's what we're laughing at before we get to, was that supposed to be funny or something? What is funny about a bunch of boys standing around holding up their phone? They look like freaks of nature. It literally looked weird. Like, what are you doing? That was weird. And for it to be a bunch of boys. This is that girlish, by girlish I mean effeminate, unfitting for a man, okay? That effeminate, petty, envious, and hostile, intimidated spirit that is operating in males who are intimidated by me, and they literally schedule out their day while they're stalking me. When I get to this corner in this intersection, then I'm going to, and then she's going to document. That's what you're reasonably anticipating, and that's exactly what's going to happen. And while you're engaging in stalking me under all circumstances, then you're going to engage in what? Trying to make it, you're stalking. It's criminal conduct, and it's not funny. None of it's a joke. I'm the only one that's popping any jokes, literally. Because there's nothing funny about a bunch of boys standing around targeting you. Where is that funny? Even outside of the context of gang stalking, where is that funny? Okay, now I'm not some little victim that needs anybody to stand up for me, but I'm just pointing out that where in what universe is that funny? Or is that some sort of, oh yeah, man, you banged on her, yeah, that was G-like. No, where is that? Where is that written? It's not. And he's mad because he's 5'2". His neck is bigger than the whole rest of his body, and he's stalking me with his girlfriend in the car. More concerned about me than your girlfriend. Your girlfriend's concerned about me. Like, this is pathetic through and through. And the demons of the city of Ontario that are stalking at the end of that video, those are the ones that send in puppets like that. But the city of Ontario, they're full of puppets, and they're obsessed with my vagina, stalking me in the bathroom. Because that's what that is. In the specific environment, that's happening. Ongoing harassment is happening under the green light within the circle where the dot's in the middle and the entity is stalking in the path. Everything that they say, the government's going to be prosecuted for it because it's all happening within the circle. When you're stalking, you're not making any jokes. You're not leading any sort of pact against me when you're stalking. Try not being a demon. Try not being a vagina monitoring demon and then come at me with a joke. Then do that. Because you're envious of money that you tried to steal from me. Nobody over here is broke. I'm not broke. You stole from me, Satan, and you're going to prison for it. Keep that same energy, though. Laugh about it in prison. Laugh about it there. See, this is the entity that's what's so pathetic about it. That probably wasn't even his car. Not that it was impressive, but that's the extent that they go to. It's pathetic. You're scared to death of me to document. You're ducking and dodging and stepping on the gas when I'm about to get your license plate. This is pathetic. These are not men. Okay? And neither are these humans. They're demons, and they're pathetic, and they're very much going out of their way, showing their obsession in every regard. How much money are you spending on fuel to gas up that helicopter every day and every night? It's a show of how important Erica Lorraine Spencer is. That's the truth. It is the truth. It's not a compliment in my opinion. I don't care about what some demon worshiping me at the altar. I don't care about that, but they do. And they're very much triggered by my opinion about them. They're very much triggered by what it is, the truth that I'm stating. I don't care enough about anybody to sit up on a podcast and talk about them. This is not what I was doing before I realized I was being targeted by the state. I was very much minding my business. Thank you very much. Minding my business. Now, whose fault is that when you found yourself being the subject of what is reverse targeting? That's what you want to call it? Because that's what you are. You're being targeted. I'm going to prosecute you, and I'm going to humiliate you and make you regret the day that you ever thought it was a good idea to gang stalk me. Because this is what they do to people that don't know what to say. They don't have quick comebacks. They don't know that, you know, those, and that's a coward. You're a punk. Try fighting somebody that has the ability to respond to it or whatever. Like, you want to fight somebody that's never been in a fight before. And I mean that, like, symbolically speaking, because I'm not a fighter. Like, I'm not a fighter like that either. But I just mean, intellectually, you're no match, okay? With regard to a logic and sense, you don't even know what you're doing. They're a bunch of animals, and they're learning about what they're doing while they're listening to me document them. I'm surrounding them with legislative tape while they're learning what the rules are as they break them. And they're learning about their penalties. And they're hearing some true commentary about what somebody like that would never engage in that sort of sick behavior, what they look like in front of everybody else. Yeah, you're absolutely humiliated, and you should be. You should be. So that's something that's knocking a lot of demons out of the illusion of doing anything that's acceptable or powerful or cool. Like, you're sick. It's pathetic. Okay, and so is monitoring vagina in the bathroom. And so that's what the entity is doing. The entity that's obsessively stalking, that carries right on into the bathroom. Where the entity is maintaining amplified noise, there is a team of demons that are monitoring. And they do it, the vagina. That's the mind behind the predator. So that's a sick mind. That's the mens rea under the law. That's that mindset. This is a very much of a sex crime committed by demons who are violent sex offenders. Okay, and this is a criminal act committed by, again, Stater brothers. All they're doing is grabbing grocery carts, stalking in the store. That's all they're doing. They're hiding behind a grocery cart. That's it. And how do you know? The same exact pattern of conduct. Fake sun, impossible light, the body of evidence surrounding Stater brothers, again, it's ridiculous. And it's there because I've been at this I'm not new to this. All right? And it's already sitting on the record. This is P.O.C. It's bathroom monitoring at the facilitating venue Stater brothers markets. All right, license 7XXE299. It's 1:36 p.m. And the record already shows the fake sun over literally Ontario Village Shopping Center. Stater Brothers over for the term of years, every hour of the day, every single hour of the day, which is impossible to be the natural environment regardless of daylight savings time. You're talking about given an hour, you cannot reconcile even over a term of years, by the way. Especially not over a term of years. Daylight savings time given, what is 7 o'clock in the morning until even 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but it's well after that. Remember, bigger picture, Starbucks, 706 West Holt Boulevard, not the gang stalker at 507 North Euclid Avenue. It's the same company, though, I'm going to prosecute. But it shows how Starbucks is engaged in a P.O.C. as I can document companies at different locations engaging in the same pattern of conduct. But nonetheless, the one at 706 West Holt, I have the fake sunset in alignment to me at 7 p.m. This is the same. It's the same location. When you're talking about the sun, what's across the street is the same location. This is why you don't engage in that sort of stupidity as a matter of record. And what the rest of the world will learn is that under the fake sun, you should be recoiling, not engaging in more of it because everybody's on alert. So the fake sun through the window of the Starbucks at 706 West Holt on June 3rd, 2025 at 7 p.m. is direct evidence against Stater Brothers that has the fake sun over my head at 7 in the morning while I'm standing at the entrance that I'm at right now. 9JQW287, 6PSY345. All right, that's the pattern of conduct. In other words, I've already stated, so covering up the fake sun is neither here nor there. It's relevant evidence regarding a government that's engaged in what is a very highly malicious and ongoing desperate conspiracy to commit murder. 8 ULM 649, that's exactly what's relevant regarding covering up the fake sun. Yeah, that's a government that's planning to get away with murder. Okay, it's not going to work, obviously, but that's getting to malice, in other words. 6 EIM 232, that's getting to malice. 8 DEC 105, 9 NSC 963. Everybody filling up their trunks, driving in the parking lot, pulling out, opening and closing their car. This is all activity creation, all of it. And they were all monitoring my vagina in the circle filled with green light. Okay, maintaining presence in the path while ongoing thunderous noises occurring, while they're all enjoying what is my vagina being exposed, my being bent over, and demons sharing in that sex act. Bathroom monitoring together. 9 AEL 152, conspiring murder and doing so. Psychological torture as an entity is that which precedes murder committed by that entity. License plate 6ZWS056, 16457 Frank 3. Puritan Bakery is a gang stalker. 9JBF 141, 9HIH 610, a demon from the gang stalking institution Cal Poly Pomona. License 9TXW 472, 8AFK 456. P.O.C. All right, it's currently 1:39 p.m. That's amplified noise. Inside of a bathroom, it's occurring under the guise of an extraordinarily loud hand dryer. All right, the entity also does so with the sound of what is amplified plane and helicopter activity. That's the same method of elements. When you have done something as stupid as keeping a fake sun, that is your ability to place into context everything that is occurring in that environment. 9 TWS 517, El Pollo Loco gang stalking drive-through, 23919J3. P.O.C. Omnitrans gang stalking on the roads and the highways, bus number 2349, 61 going toward Pomona, where the fake sun did not move and go toward Pomona today like it did when I'm on Route 61. P.O.C. All right, stalking with the city of Ontario that has plane activity, as now it's taken off over Emporia Place while I'm inside of El Pollo Loco. This family of demons, license 7 Edward Apple Perry 334, 7 SVT 835. All they're doing, it gives you context regarding the inspiration of presence and business where they are gang stalking me. They're coming in and making purchases to engage in presence in the path while the entity will surround the establishment with planes and helicopters and the fake sun and engineer light. Okay, that's pattern of conduct. This is the entity engaging in that P.O.C. at what is El Pollo Loco. I'm completing my purchase at 1:42 p.m. It's currently 1:52 p.m. and the entity is stalking in commercial planes that are now along Holt Boulevard. The entity's never flying any planes along Holt Boulevard when I'm at the Ontario Town Square. Okay, so I just want to be clear, it's relevant to where I'm located. And that's called stalking in the path. P.O.C. All right, listen to the following. All right, that is the crossing a path conduct by the demons that are walking in and out of the same entrance that I walked into. And when I walked into it, the door is not taking on the character of what everything takes on the character of Satan. And as I've shown you, what is demonic amplified noise is demonic. Engineer light is demonic. And also, it's taken on the character of what is a person that's demon possessed. So the person that's in that environment, that's engaging in what is presence in that environment, is demonic. Okay. So the door that I'm walking through, there's no such slamming. And now, everybody that walks in and out of it, it's door slamming. It's a means of crossing path with amplified noise in the environment where El Pollo Loco is gang stalking. Okay, they're monitoring, and it's very demented behavior. And that's speaking to what is, again, no person comes and puts any screws on the door. Nobody slammed the door. It's demonic. It's demonic. The character of even the door closure changes based on what the environment, right, and what the people in that environment are accomplishing, and it's entirely demonic. okay? But this is the entity that's gang stalking El Pollo Loco that's inside of the Ontario Village Shopping Center. Just want to be clear, I don't have to ever step foot in El Pollo Loco for El Pollo Loco to be engaged in gang stalking. They're in the same parking lot, and I've been documenting them for years, in the same way I've been documenting the city of Ontario, and the same way I've been documenting going to the Stater Brothers, which shares the same plaza, when I go to the Coin Laundry, when I go to the Stater Brothers, or when I went to, like, I think I've been a patron at the, well, not a patron, I went to the dentist over here inside of the Ontario shopping. I've been to the Habit, I've been to many of these, but anyway, anyways, I've frequently and heavily documented Ontario Village, and you don't have to walk. I don't have to walk into El Pollo Loco to document them. This is what is built into the pattern of conduct. When you have one part, you have all part. When you have your roommate gang stalking you, you have everybody in that building that's gang stalking you. When the entity is gang stalking, while I'm inside of Stater Brothers, El Pollo Loco is gang stalking. While I go and make a purchase at El Pollo Loco, that is indeed the P.O.C. confirmed. This is the P.O.C. that the entity is engaging in together. 8YGM991, I believe. 8YGM991, I believe, substantially similar. Anyway, I'm going to get the license plates of the third parties that are outside of the El Pollo Loco. But this is a means of what is crossing. As you walk through the door, you're entering into a closer presence that's crossing a path. Because you don't have to walk in the door. You can be outside on the sidewalk smoking a cigarette. Another demon walks in, crossing path, okay? There's a plethora of ways that demons are monitoring and stalking, okay? Walking in and out, though, is crossing path and audible activity. And the entity is doing so with regard to that P.O.C. And this is just an example. When you're just paying attention to the environment, and the environment is entirely demonic. Now the door is extraordinarily loud every time someone is walking. Those are demons. It's the same spirit in different bodies. Pacing in and out. P.O.C. It's 2:13 p.m. by the way. 8NQD 843, I believe. P.O.C. Alright, that is the Ontario Police indeed stalking, like I'm capturing on podcast. The entity pacing in and out of the restaurant. El Pollo Loco is at the Ontario Village. The Ontario, there's Amazon, infamous stalkers. They did the same thing with LAPD. The entity is engaging in the pattern of conduct of stalking amongst light activity creation. This is what Sunbelt's engaging in. This is what the city of Ontario, the dumpsters are engaging in, surrounding. This is what the entity is doing while the entity is maintaining what is the fake sun, which is right here over the top of my head, covered up. And the entity is engaging in what is stalking as I walk outside, just like they are at the OVITT Family Community Library, as I walk in and out of that venue, maintaining plane activity and helicopter activity. As I walk out, the demon is flying in this manner of direction. This is flying around the perimeter, and they're inside of the El Pollo Loco gang stalking. That includes the following. Okay, so you're sitting in, engaging in surveillance and operational communication devices, and the entity is stalking. This is the entity that's stalking me at the bus stop using helicopter. This is the entity that's stalking at the Ontario Town Square using helicopter. This is the entity that's monitoring my vagina while demons are pacing in and out, monitoring inside of the so-called family market, where Kia and Andres are engaged in gang stalking with the Ontario Police. That is exposing the ongoing criminal conduct that, again, Eric Spencer and Tracy Banks are engaging in. They're going to prison. They committed kidnapping with the Ontario Police, who are openly engaging in domestic terrorism, which is incriminating everyone that has engaged in targeting me with this agency. This is P.O.C. and no coincidence. Again, this is the El Pollo Loco that's located inside of the Ontario Village Shopping Center. And this is the ongoing terrorism by psychopaths. City of Ontario, heavily documented gang stalking, keeping under surveillance while not addressing it. The same thing with Amazon Prime. In fact, you're going to juxtapose the gang stalking by the Ontario Police Department and the Los Angeles Police Department as they act together very heavily, engaging in that P.O.C. It is currently, by the way, 2:23 p.m. That's the pattern of conduct. Amazon license plate is 70662Z2. The people of the state, the third party, she's been engaged in prolonged surveillance on behalf of the city, which is state action. License plate 7SVT835. I already read her license plate. Okay, this is all criminal presence in the path while the entity is gang stalking. 4ANX882. And this was relevant to the bathroom monitoring that's underway inside of the Stater Brothers Family Market. 7RVJ679. Monitoring my vagina on behalf of the Ontario Police. 9BUA965. The entity sounding the horns is audible activity creation. These are demons that are monitoring, and it's relevant to criminal surveillance. The fake sun already documented at this Stater Brothers at 7 in the morning. The fake sun documented at this Starbucks at 706 West Holt Boulevard after 7 p.m. This Starbucks right here on June 3rd, 2025, after being kidnapped by the Ontario Police Department, Tracy Banks, the San Bernardino County, and the entity kept the fake sun as I came from what was Colton, California, via Omnitrans, capturing the fake sun on June 3rd. All this evidence is captured, and the fake sun sets right here through the window, and the sunrise right here at the Stater Brothers. This is P.O.C. That's the Ontario Police that's going to be disbanded. It's 2:25 p.m. Okay, the video evidence that you listened to, that's the ongoing context regarding everything that I'm documenting that demons are engaging in inside of the venue. And I also want to point out, what is relevant about the pattern of conduct as you're seeing today. It's an entirely engineered environment. Alicia, whose name is on my receipt regarding gang stalking. She's engaging in the pattern of conduct by employment at a facilitating venue, surveillance underway by the city, which she is fully complicit in, okay? And she is monitoring as I'm documenting, and as I operate my device, the entity is pacing inside, pacing in and out, coming in and completing purchases to engage in that, and doing so by engaging in surveillance sitting in the restroom, like the license plates that I recited, and then that demon comes out and in monitoring, is engaging what is driving out and leaving as I leave, and the entity is captured on video stalking in helicopter. They're monitoring the entire time while the people of the state are maintaining surveillance, meaning they're stalking with noise and presence in the path, psychopathic behaviors all around me while they're monitoring. And that's what they're doing inside of the grocery store. That's what they're doing on the roads and the highways. It's surveillance. And so this is surveillance underway in a restaurant, surveillance underway in a grocery store. And that's where you have what is the fake sun. I want to be clear, the entity that is gang stalking under the fake sun is doing so with knowledge that the OVITT Family Community Library is going to be closed today. So for whatever reason, the entity doesn't mind the fake sun staying over OVITT Family Community Library, where the demons at that venue are going to prison for kidnapping with the Ontario Police Department. But the entity is covering up the fake sun as though you don't know that it's a fake sun. It's not the natural environment, and covering it up doesn't make it a real sun because you cover up the fake sun until I go back to the OVITT Family Community Library. But then it doesn't really do that because I'm capturing it everywhere else. But this is, again, the entity that doesn't have any rhyme or scheme. They're stalking and they're caught stalking, and so they engage in ongoing stalking and the pattern of what is covering up the fake source and while keeping it over me at the same time. Is relevant to knowledge of being documented. So the entity is, however, when you're looking at what is the gray skies are relevant to what is the entity maintaining light activity as I documented throughout the neighborhood. City of Ontario is facilitating surveillance while those are a means of light activity surrounding. And the entity is doing that also because of the fact of it was a holiday today. So anticipating that I'm not going to be at the OVITT Family Community Library. That's what's behind covering up the fake sun today. So I just want to make sure that that's understood as well. The same exact pattern of conduct is underway. So it's not deviating from the P.O.C. and it's equally probative evidence. Capturing the fake sun is showing how not only is this criminal surveillance, and it's very specific, it's not vague and ambiguous and impossible to prove, a population, a government targeting one specific person. It's also relevant to teaching you, informing you what is the objective of monitoring the environment that they're engaging in it, and how a whole bunch of people are together targeting one person through the evidence of a fake sun remaining over one person all day long. The entity is engaging in that conduct while I am at what is El Pollo Loco. Again, El Pollo Loco is at 668 West Holt Boulevard, where the entity is stalking by commercial plane along Holt Boulevard, and where the entity is stalking by helicopter like you just listened to. 8 WMR 486. License. This is not traffic, it's surveillance. License. 8FYW 923, 9BLF 486, 9NNG 891, 9JZC 903. I am at San Antonio and Holt, and you have the same plane activity volume as it is east of this location at the Ontario Town Square. Like I stated, 15071X2. This is not to any takeoff from an airport. That's called stalking in the path simultaneously with noise while the cockroaches, who are the people of the state, are pacing all around, engaging in surveillance, monitoring, stalking while monitoring. Okay, that's relevant to the plane activity at San Antonio and Holt. License. 7XRA641, which is also not going to occur from a takeoff that occurred at the airport. A takeoff that occurred at the airport, takeoffs that occur from an airport, they engage in what are exceedingly heightening elevation that is not going to result in what I'm capturing. The entity hovering throughout in alignment to the streets over me on the sidewalk, hovering and sounding inside of the apartment or the hotel room or over the property like the Ontario Town Square. And then I'm west of that location and you're still at the same elevation because I'm still listening to the plane activity that is competing with my voice. Okay, that's the entity that's engaging in what is stalking with planes. And you also know that, as I show you the pattern of conduct, with helicopters. That's the entity that is stalking. And that is Amazon Prime that's engaging in that. I just like to point out all of the ways in which you're identifying that pattern. The entity makes decisions to engage in that. My commentary regarding Bezos, that's regarding what you should also pick up from that is how Bezos is indeed engaged in what is targeting and is very much indeed engaged in what is exposing animosity and hatred toward American citizens enforcing their right. And that's why you have demon-possessed puppets and Amazon Prime vehicles in the last 48 hours engaged in what is stalking more frequently than they typically are, okay? Everything and everyone that you're encountering is pursuant to what is a very specific pattern of conduct unique to that targeted individual. So as you talk about Circle K, the entity will engage in gang stalking you with trucks that have Circle K logos on them. Okay, the entity will gang stalk you with people that have Circle K uniforms on. And I'm just giving you an example. That's how the entity, the demon possessed, engage in monitoring. And that's relevant to what you need to pick up and deduce from those that hate this country and those that are engaged in targeting. And it includes Amazon Prime. Okay, that's P.O.C. stalking in concert with the government that use helicopter communicating that threat. And that's going to be relevant to targeting terrorists like Amazon Prime and like the Ontario Police Department. P.O.C. License 6NVX314, 8UAU806, 8H79386. That's over the Stater Brothers Markets parking lot, by the way. 9RQF776, 76651B3, 9BKN263, 9JDM426. And that's why covering up the fake sun is absolutely irrelevant regarding the probative value of stalking in the same exact manner, while then the fake sun, which is the core of identifying targeting of an American citizen in concert with targeting by that state in ways in which are clear. The airport board engaging in what is stalking me in furtherance of murder is proven through the ongoing stalking all throughout the city of Ontario. Also, while in the face of the evidence capturing the Ontario board, conspiring my murder and my exposing it and investigating it and publishing the evidence of them trying to take my life and psychologically torture and stalk me, but until they can accomplish that as an entity, and the entity is engaging in that with knowledge of that ongoing published documentation. In fact, they engage in more of it and target more so in the way that I'm documenting right now, in concert with the kidnappers of the Ontario Police Department while it's being published on the internet. That's directly relevant to the airport, to the police department, and the fire department. That's all being shut down, all of it. All right, that's the entity that's gang stalking to the extent of stalking inside of a fast food restaurant, El Pollo Loco, stalking inside of a grocery store, Stater Brothers Markets. Not going anywhere, certainly not taking off, the same exact elevation, the same exact noise creation when you're west of where you are stalking serially over the Ontario Town Square. No difference in elevation, no difference in volume. That's the entity that's stalking. That's another angle regarding analysis of clear stalking. But I have the demons under the fake sun hovering and over this parking lot, evidence extending years back. The Ontario Airport Board is not going to be anymore. The Ontario Executive Team, I'm going to prosecute for conspiracy to murder by domestic terrorism by the state of California, acting via the city of Ontario, every level of government, every department engaging in targeting me, including the demons, using a helicopter to engage in stalking me upon my exit of El Pollo Loco inside of the Ontario Village Shopping Center. Okay, this is P.O.C. 8SAX455, stalking with the Ontario International. That's Alaska Airlines, engaging in the same exact conduct. That's the fake sun, the Illuminous right there. That's a fake sun. And that is competing with my voice, which is amplification. While the Ontario International Airport is monitoring my vagina on the opposite side of this wall right here, keeping me under surveillance inside of Stater Brothers Markets, that's engaged in the P.O.C. The entity has the fake sun rising here, as I'm documenting the other day, underneath this structure where this demon is stalking behind me. That's an obsessed demon with a dirty pants on his backside, gang stalking somebody in furtherance of murder. You don't need to know the demon's names while they're engaging in surveillance. They're pacing while they're walking in engineer light together while the government is deviating, hovering over the parking lot on Holt Boulevard. west of the Ontario Town Square, and it's the same elevation, same volume. License 77852G3 is a co-conspirator to murder with the City of Ontario that's gang stalking, and doing so with Tracy Banks and Eric Spencer on video this morning as well. This is where the entity had the fake sun at 7 in the morning, aimed underneath this structure, which is an impossible placement. It's also impossible light activity, and like I stated in the other video, the Starbucks over here after 7 p.m. That's where the airport and the police department are stalking together. 7W49494. This is P.O.C. It is currently 2:36 p.m. That's the entity that is gang stalking as companies like Amazon Prime, gang stalking as companies like Alaska Airlines, gang stalking as households coming to with cars filled with their minor children, all of them with communication devices in hand, demons pacing in the path, hungry to monitor vagina in the bathroom, sex offenders 9KMA 995, 9RRW 189, 6ZUY 682, and Stater Brothers at 646 West Holt Boulevard. This is P.O.C. This is gang stalking by the state, and this is the removal of that Ontario Airport board. I want to be clear, the sex offenders, the terrorists that are going to be prosecuted includes the entirety of the Ontario executive team. They're subject to deportation as well for terrorism, and it's the same for the Ontario board. L&D WAPNER, Jim Bowman, Kurt Hagman, Julia Gu, and Ronald Leverage, who are violent sex offenders facilitating and engaging in domestic terrorism, while Alaska Airlines, while the gang stalking planes are used as a means of stalking me throughout the city in concert with the people. Okay, P.O.C. It is currently again 2:37 p.m. All right, license 9FUZ768 is monitoring as I enter in my account into my online, and so I'm using my phone. They're monitoring as other demons are using the shopping carts. This is the same entity that's stalking with the Ontario Police. So I'm literally breaking down how a group of demons are engaging what is the maintenance of noise, maintenance of presence, and maintenance of what is light activity. They're all in engineered light under the fake sun. And they're also engaging what is maintenance of noise. And that third party, with all the rest of them, are monitoring as I log into an account on my phone. And that's the entity that is also, again, engaging what is obstructing, creating a Google account, obstructing access to your Facebook, creating what are generating screens that are obstructing your access to such accounts, and creating steps that aren't necessary to create or access, and also creating obstacles in order to lock you out of it. Okay, and I also speak to what is Google's engagement in that pattern of conduct by the demons in relevant position, and also these companies that are monitoring online. They share in that together. Those are the demons of Stater Brothers that are gang stalking. Okay. The entities engaged in that, so I just want to be clear, the entity is not just in relevant position engaged in monitoring online. These tech companies like Google, Facebook, they're headquartered in California. They are monitoring, and they're monitoring online, and the entity is all together witnessing my exposure. So absolutely online, these demons are engaged in targeting and seeking to obstruct as much exposure that they can while I'm even using the platforms. This is what YouTube is engaged in. This is what I've documented occurring on Facebook. I've also already spoken to, and I'm not going to go at length right now, but I've spoken to before, the entity that's monitoring a relevant position. That is a question of fact with regard to these companies' engagement and what is even necessary for them on their end at a distance using their platforms, whether they're engaging in that or not. That's a question of fact that could be determined. But it is a matter of monitoring under all circumstances. But the entity is engaged in what is surveillance. And so Facebook, YouTube, the people of the state in California, yeah, these companies are headquartered in California, and they're aware of what it is that I'm exposing, and they are also equally invested in obstructing exposure. So I am stating that it is not merely these demons in relevant position that are obstructing access to these websites through these apps, etc. Okay, but license AS546 is pacing while monitoring, and my credit card information, my passwords, this is all public information, and this is what you need to know, which is relevant, which the Ontario Police Department admittedly let you know about while they're gang stalking me, monitoring pursuant to what I'm doing on my phone. All of your private information is not private. That goes to where you're looking at me being gang stalked at Chase Bank. You're looking at me being gang stalked at Wells Fargo. I've been customers of both, engaged in what is all of my private information public. These demons that are monitoring my vagina are also aware of how much money is in my account, my credit cards, my balances, my passwords, my transactions, and that's yours as well. Okay, it's 3:22 p.m. This is P.O.C. All right. Garda monitoring. I'll give you their license plate right now with all the people of the state, just like Brinks at Fontana Lewis under the fake sun. Going in bearing weapons, doing so under the fake sun, engaging in what is not important at all regarding criminal activity, but using all of that resource to engage in criminal monitoring, and that's what Garda World is doing under a fake sun. License 9EUH920, 9MDR283, 6VJX486, and Garda World is a form of what is light activity at Stater Brothers under the fake sun, which is never going to make Garda World appear legitimate, with the entity stalking by helicopter, stalking by commercial plane, presence under a fake sun rising and setting, and then you're looking at what is exposing inevitable corruption by companies like Garda World and Bring Security. 77298 Charlie 1. Garda World is engaging what is facilitation as well as gang stalking, and they're doing so while bearing weapons. And I've documented Garda World engaging in this pattern of conduct, a demon staring at me while knowing that I'm documenting him psychopathic, engaging in this pattern of conduct under the fake sun as well. Again, that's Garda World, license 77298C1, and that's in concert with the Ontario Police Department. Garda World's engaged in the conspiracy to commit murder, doing so as a corrupt business, engaging in gang stalking, and this is relevant to the threat that corrupt companies pose while they engage in that method, that malicious method of targeting someone else while wanting to appear legitimate. And you're supposed to appear that Garda World to Bring Security, they're focused on their important jobs. They're gang stalking, vagina monitoring demons. That's it. That's it. They're under the fake sun, exhibiting demon possession, flashing light, in relevant position to me, monitoring on my device. They are as pathetic as the demons stalking me and then wanting to call names because they're being documented as a stalker. And it's calling itself Garda World, okay? Hiding behind what's supposed to be a dignified company name, engaging in important business, carrying around large amounts of monies. They're gang stalking demons. P.O.C. Facilitation 8VFB 216 8TUU093. By the way, Garda World, that is stalking under the fake sun at Stater Brothers. That's a far cry from being over the entrance where demons inside of the OVITT Family Community Library have engineered light over that center staircase as though that sunlight that would still be there after the sun is there at open at 10 a.m. The fake sun that is not over the entryway while Garda World is engaged in what is misusing a company to engage in criminal monitoring, doing so as a pattern of conduct, speaking to what is the unlawful threat. He's bearing a gun, stalking with impossible light, engaging in the P.O.C. with the state of California, acting in furtherance of murder. That's him pacing back and forth. Engaged, that's a Latino male, sounding the alarm and switching while doing so, okay? This is a demon that's engaging in that pattern of conduct and is doing so under the fake sun that's not over, for example, OVITT Family Community Library. Okay, that's P.O.C. Doing so under the fake sun, you're looking at Stater Brothers monitoring me, and so Stater Brothers is monitoring me with Garda World that's engaging in what is light activity, and that fake sun over me at this same Stater Brothers at 7, and what Garda World is gang stalking me under is speaking to Stater Brothers not being any so-called family market whatsoever. They're a domestic terrorist. All right, and they're a sex offender, and that company and Garda World, again, being prosecuted. They're terrorists stalking with the police, with the airport, and that kind of madness is associated with the average criminal that fills the state of California. It's 3:27 p.m. under the fake sun at what is 646 West Holt Boulevard. This is P.O.C. And Garda World is on the surveillance cameras gang stalking in the grocery store, engaging in what is criminal monitoring, and doing so while, bearing weapons and doing so. I'm going to go ahead and Garda World, I want you to pay attention. That's audible activity. Light activity while his shadow is created under engineer light. Bearing guns is federal prison. That's impossible light activity while he opens and closes it on the floor. Garda World is license plate 77298C1. And this is a demon. That's my shadow that's moving across the vehicle, and he's under the fake sun that's not over the OVITT Family Community Library. That's all light activity. And the flashing of light is criminal facilitation by Garda World and the demon bearing a gun while gang stalking on behalf of the kidnappers of the Ontario police that are here stalking by helicopter with the same city of Ontario. The fake sun that's here at 7 o'clock in the morning isn't going to be over the parking lot. That's seeking to expose what is a gang stalker Garda World, engaging what is an unlawful threat in concert with the city while bearing weapons and gang stalking. Okay? Bearing a gun and gang stalking under a fake sun. The mentally unstable vagina monitoring psychopaths bearing guns and gang stalking an American citizen, because that's what he's doing. That's Garda World. This is P.O.C. There's no sun over the OVITT Family Community Library, which is east. This is not going to create sunlight inside of OVITT Family Community Library where those demons are pacing in and out and engineer lights crawling on the inside. What are they walking on? Because it's not sunlight. P.O.C. All right, gang stalking, 6ABN 216, 9HKW 999, 7WSZ 728, 9HCM 416, 6NND 745, 7UKX 890, I think, in case I didn't read that one, 7MJP 823, 8YJA 818, 431VP handicap, 7JXK285, 5HZL447, BL09R65 paper. 91641C4, 7WIG756. In case I read these, because I might have read these demons license plate when they were gang stalking at some point, and when I'm at the entrance and they're driving by pacing. 9JPV698, 8VGY827, 9RLW306, 9EXV732. No, you go ahead, Satan. I'm getting your license plate. License. This is 9NRS955, 9VSK170, 6NSF057. This is all criminal conduct on behalf of the Ontario Police that's being disbanded. Okay? Them reminding you that they're gang stalking by being present by helicopter is speaking to the ongoing ceaseless pattern of conduct by that police department that's engaged in criminal surveillance. They are, in other words, an exposed domestic terrorist that is going to be disbanded. License 7JXE525, 9FFJ108. Remember, all of this is vicarious conduct on behalf of the government. These puppets are gang stalking because the government is gang stalking. They are not private citizens while they're gang stalking either. License plate 25140H2. They are in the shoes of the state. The state doesn't have any privacy. The state's a public entity, and so are the demon-possessed gang-stalking third parties, 5YZU096, including while they maintain the state's pattern of conduct at home, at work, on the roads and the highways, they're being prosecuted. License 9FFJ108, 9BTC480, 9GFB697, 9NKX034. American Scale is engaged in un-American criminal conduct, California license 117662, and the license plate is 33751V2. America Scale is a gang stalker. Whatever they're doing, they're monitoring while they're doing it. Incorporating the name of America, associating it with demonic activity and public corruption and sexual violence. License 7MFU290, 9TOX425, 745. I can't really see the rest of them. Let me get the rest of them. License 36415, Mary 3. DK096, handicap. 734HT4W. 9CXD006, 7AEU373, EB66G29. 746, I can't really see the rest of that one. You can scratch that one. 9AIE331. P.O.C. 8SOG159. 9NKM763. This is surveillance on San Antonio and Holt Boulevard, where the entity is stalking by helicopter. 23360K2. 8ZLU050. 8FCT023. 8XBN 276, 8MEB807, 78237B1, 31008W3, 80079D2, 9HGK995. I've already captured the fake sun over me at 706 West Holt Boulevard in Ontario, California, the infamous Starbucks at Holt and San Antonio, and I have captured it from sunrise. In fact, I even documented and prosecuted them, in other words, while I was living in Los Angeles, and I am referring to same time of year analysis, exposing gang stalking at 706 West Holt Boulevard, where I am right now, and the entity having the fake sun over me at this 706 West Holt Boulevard Starbucks, where the entity was doing the exact same thing, where LAPD is gang stalking in the way that you see the city of Ontario gang stalking, including via helicopter and commercial planes, and the sunrise is aimed squarely into my living room window in Los Angeles, California. That's where the entity is engaging in what is the criminal pattern of conduct that is statewide, and that entity that's engaged in that is doing so under a fake sun that is through my living room window, and impossibility to be anything other than what is the identification of targeting based on that supernatural aspect of the having that light source, which remained for the duration of the day at Alvarado Gardens in Los Angeles, and is not coexisting at any time over Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Ave. Excuse me, 706 West Holt, but yeah, 507 too. This is P.O.C. It is currently, hi, how are you doing? Okay? You sure?
I do have a bus pass. Hold on. Happy Monday. Not now. Yes, activate. Oh, here you go. Okay, thank you. All right, like I was stating, the entity that has the fake sun over me at 706 West Holt Boulevard, where the entity is engaged in what is neglecting this part of the world and everywhere else while keeping it over Euclid Avenue, but shining it as Garda World is gang stalking at Stater Brothers, where I am at that Stater Brothers at 7 before 8 o'clock this morning, and the fake sun is shining in all of its brilliance at that same address, speaking to someone threatening my life and safety, acting furtherance of murder while literally bearing weapons to accomplish that, communicating a threat in doing so. Not passive aggressive, not lawful, nothing that is exceptional to what is a prosecution for that unlawful threat. Gang stalking in that manner. The entity is communicating a specific threat while you are being gang stalked with a light source that's remaining specifically over you, and especially remember, they're gang stalking me, the one who's documenting it. And that's the entity that's engaging in stalking with helicopter. They're threatening my life and safety in doing that as well, and choosing to engage in everyone that is engaged in the pattern of conduct is that which is specifically tailored to that targeted individual. It's all, everything is staged, everything is deliberate, everything is relevant to every detail pursuant to the pattern of conduct that the entity, with regard to me documenting it, is aware is going to be and is likely to be documented and exposed in one way or another. So you're choosing to engage in what is bearing a gun while you're gang stalking me. That's what Fontana Lewis Library is doing with Bring Security Under the Fake Sun. Okay, that big black-faced demon is bearing guns while he's gang stalking at Fontana Lewis Library Under the Fake Sun. Okay, which is competing with what the entity is doing in Ontario today over Holt Boulevard at the El Pollo Loco at the Ontario Village, where the entity is engaged in that pattern of conduct and doing so while I'm subject to that P.O.C. as I'm showing it in a specific environment. All right, it's 3:39 p.m. aboard Route 61 that's engaging in gang stalking. P.O.C. All right, Omnitrans, always again engaging in the supernatural. The fake sun moves as I'm on the bus, and then it stops moving through that bus window when I get off of it. 1613617, that's a license plate, and everybody else on that bus is now remaining under a sun through the windows of that vehicle. It stops with me, and those demons continue on as the entity that's maintaining the same position that they have right next to me. There are demons gang stalking on public transportation, bus 1216, license 1613617, at what is Ramona Avenue and Holt Boulevard, as an entity maintains the same exact criminal presence in my path. P.O.C. It's 3:48 p.m. All right, gang stalking demons, 9RAR 643, 8XPL 797, 8CNV 367, 6EYB 726, 6TJS 630, 8KRL 263. Demons so happy to see me in the city of Montclair. The fake sun is the welcoming sign. License 9UOL 508. License 7UZA905. Case I didn't read that one. 8SSN 257. 6LST 025. 4DQS 349. JEREZ, 8SSN257, 5WBS199. Hold on, 7YQ, I can't really see that one. 9HQZ553. 9ALD991, 8HJZ821. P.O.C. All right, this is the federal RICO case against Starbucks, headquartered in Seattle. Every single Starbucks in California is engaged in criminal monitoring. That's how you have the identical pattern of conduct everywhere that I'm going. And many of those venues are called Starbucks that are engaged in gang stalking. And they actually despise American citizens and your constitutional rights. And this is relevant to the federal RICO case. And the kidnappers in Ontario, Starbucks kidnapping with Ontario police, they're going to prison. But this is relevant to the federal RICO case, as I am gang stalked both as an American citizen and as a customer of the venue. And they are threatening me and gang stalking me the same. Like I don't spend a penny there. Okay, so it's currently 3:51 p.m. I do want to be clear, the entity that's engaging in what is gang stalking does so using music. The substance of the music is totally uninterested and irrelevant. So, 1 second. Hi. I want to make a purchase, actually. You guys have any of these that are chilled?
No, just those.
How about... Do you mind if I get a couple? I'm gonna buy one of these. I'm just making a. I actually want to make a purchase just to be in the company, be in the restaurant. So I'm just making a purchase. Does that make sense? I'm not gonna sit in here and not buy anything. In other words.
Okay.
Can I get a cup of ice also?
Yeah. What size cup do you want?
A small will be fine. And I was gonna ask you something, and it must not have been important.
Here.
That is, that's gonna be it. I'm gonna put it on my card.
Awesome.
Thank you.
My cup of ice will be over there in just a minute.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Excuse me. Oh, one second. But like I was stating, actually the music, the entity on YouTube, and this is going to be addressed because a lot of it is relevant to what is ignorance, but most of it's not. People that are even artists and artists that are not demons, that are not gang stalking, would also be mindful of that. They might even, because I know if I was an artist and my music was being played to terrorize other people, I would have an issue with it. If you include my music in gang stalking someone, I'm going to prosecute you in one way or another. But what it is that the entity is engaging in monitoring. So this is speaking to what is the element of audible activity. It doesn't matter the music, and this is for not money-making purposes, but based on where the juncture that we're at, it is before a federal prosecution has ever occurred. So this is not relevant to any sort of copyright infringement on the part of third parties whose music are played in the background, which criminals are using to monitor, and that's something that artists might want to look into, okay? You might not want to be associated with demons that are gang stalking, and they like to do it to your voice, so they like to do it to particular words that you use, very demonic, the type of things that Satan is doing, just want to say. And many demons that make music, they do that intentionally. They create soundtracks for demons like Starbucks baristas to monitor too. They're engaging in witchcraft unbeknownst to you that you participate in. You participate in rituals unbeknownst to you, okay? But nonetheless, this has nothing to do with the substance of any music or any sort of purposes. It's relevant to the element of monitoring, and it's relevant to exposing criminal conduct and criminal conduct that I'm subject to. And that is definitely speaking to what is absolutely irrelevant regarding copyright concerns that third parties like YouTube are currently engaging. And I understand because other channels, other purposes exist, but this is speaking to what is a whole other niche, a whole other area regarding creation, content creation, which is what I'm engaging in, and it's superseding some sort of irrelevant copyright interest. It's not about music. It's not about the artist. It's not even relevant to paying attention to it. And so the entity is engaged in what is criminal conduct, and that's what's relevant. It may be an interest for those that don't want to be associated, because I know I wouldn't want my music played. Don't ever
if I ever find out in any way, because there's a whole other sick aspect and I just wouldn't want to be associated with it. But anyway, I just want to point that out. So you're in a facility where the entity is maintaining music, which is audible activity under the fake sun and an engineer light, like Starbucks has going on right now. All right, so I just want to point that out with regard to what, it's not been a blockage regarding publishing my documentation, but it's just something that's relevant to, again, the necessity of spreading the word, creating awareness, and what is a specific area carved out within the law that has exceptions with regard to how things are ordinarily working because of those genuine interests on the part of other people that are protecting their property, their intellectual property. Believe me, I respect it. I'm going through that struggle while this entity thought that it was going to murder me and then take my content, which is this very evidence at the same time, okay? But this is not about that. It's audible activity with regard to my documentation. It's merely audible activity, okay? So this is not speaking to any sort of use of your music in some sort of way that's even relevant. It's a violation of somebody's rights while they're being monitored, and I'm going to be honest with you, and if that's something that you should be aware of, it's not even a copyright concern. And ignorant platforms, and I put ignorant in air quotes because YouTube is monitoring, so their ignorance is self-serving. It's serving obstruction, blocking for copyright purposes. Some of your podcasts can't be heard in other regions of the world because of some copyright restriction, which is a superficial means with regard to the substance of my evidence and the purpose of it. And what is the purpose of it? Am I sitting there dancing to it, talking about, hey, I think they should in other words, I think that it should be the purpose of it. But you know, this is relevant to what's going to be a matter of a federal prosecution and the ways in which a government is engaged in the system of monitoring. But that's what I was stating. I didn't want to go into that while she's standing in front of me, even though she's listening. But I just go ahead and she took my order. But that is relevant to. Am I still waiting for ice? Am I still waiting for ice? Oh, okay. No problem. I just want to make sure I didn't miss it. The entity is engaged in what is criminal monitoring and doing so while they are maintaining surveillance. Thank you. Maintaining surveillance in the bathroom, making sure every area is covered. All right. The demons are pacing in and out of there, even while I am not going in the bathroom, because it's relevant to making sure that every area remains covered. Satanic and psychopathic pacing in and out of bathrooms when it's not about the actual relieving of yourself. In the same way, with regard to the presence of this Starbucks at Ramona and Holt Boulevard in Montclair, California, for example. It was here before. It was here before me. They were selling coffee before I arrived in Montclair today. Okay, but with regard to the context of the fake sun arriving over me at this venue, they're monitoring. Okay, and so there is no chronology with regard to that. The malice inherent to that is what is superseding. And the entity is engaging in that criminal pattern of conduct for that specific purpose as well. So that's speaking to the entity that doesn't have any sort of defense with regard to the P.O.C. that you're subject to. License 9 SEU 251, molestation with impossible light activity, and these gang stalking demons inside of the Starbucks are sharing in that sexual violence. All right, pacing in and out and making their purchases is pursuant to the P.O.C. 9 SEU 251 is also a demon. 6GQY 573. All right, and this is P.O.C. while the demons are pacing in, and now the purpose is monitoring me. Very specific. License 6DOK U53. P.O.C. Everybody in the cafe, there's context to it. They're all engaged in stalking surveillance. And that's the significance of a fake sun following you to an address, where at what point would the sun even be over? They're keeping it over the OVITT Family Community Library until sunset. And that's where you're understanding the pattern of conduct of an entity that turns out to not be so bright after all. But this is what you're faced with, and it's terrorism, it's sexual violence, and it's psychological torture that Starbucks is engaging in. Aiming impossible light activity, 9BUR 351, the white male, he's on camera. Oh, is that the female? Oh, that's a different third party. This is that's a license. That's a correct license. However, walking in and out of the venue is relevant to pacing, crossing path, maintaining movement and engineer light in and out of the entrance, in and out of the venue, while all they're doing is stalking. Okay, pursuant to what is the maintenance of light activity. So now the green, the circle, if you will, that I instructed everybody to create in their mind, with the dot in the middle of that circle and filled with green light, because it's radioactive light, it's not normal light,
And in the center of the dot is the targeted individual, and over that target individual is also the location of the fake sun. So where the dot is where the fake sun is, and in that circle is everyone that's targeting that individual. And that dot moves in real time. As that dot moves, that circle moves with it. The dot, with regard to, for example, when you draw a stationary circle and the dot moves inside of the circle remains the same. You can move the dot outside of the circle. Not the case with gang stalking. As that dot moves, it maintains presence in the center of that circle, because that whole circle moves as that dot moves. That's gang stalking. That's gang stalking. The whole crime scene moves as the target individual, which is the dot in the middle of that circle, moves. That's what's happening when I'm on Omnitrans. And that dot, which is where the fake sun is also, it moves in real time. That's how we have the P.O.C. in Montclair, California. That's how we have the P.O.C. in Pomona, California. That's how we have the P.O.C. in Fontana, California. Okay, et cetera, et cetera. This is even in Ontario, California. That's how you have it ongoing, remaining all day long at Starbucks. The dumbest conduct that the entity can engage in, but it's sitting on the record. Sunrise till sunset at one address, one raggedy Starbucks on one intersection, and the entity is tied to that. And then you're going to look at everything else that they're doing over the El Pollo Loco at the Ontario Village Shopping Center. All right, over the OVITT Family Community Library. And then this ridiculous light activity inside of it. You're understanding the purpose of the elements of monitoring. Light, and it's not normal light. That's why I said don't color it orange as you associate that with a normal color light. Color it green so that it's illustrative with regard to this is not normal light. It reflects off of windshields and shoots like a laser into buildings and creates what is light-filled light-filled tornadoes swirling in the air and swimming and skating across walls and ceilings. That's not light. That's engineered light, but that's not normal light. It's certainly not sunlight. Okay, so everybody's in that environment engaging in surveillance, and that's exposing and removing a veil, a very deceptive veil, and that's what's relevant when the entity is engaged in gang stalking. Even while I am present, before I am present at this Starbucks, they're monitoring. All right, this is a surveillance state. They're all monitoring me because I'm being targeted. And that's why that fake sun moves remaining over me while I'm here. I don't care who was here before I got here, you're gang stalking me now. You were gang stalking as a whole state when you get to the bigger picture. No matter where I go, the whole state of California is monitoring. Okay, but that's literally practically what's happening. It is currently 4:03 p.m. This is P.O.C. at the Starbucks in what is Montclair, California. All right, the entity engaged in what is stalking with impossible light inside of the cafe, and that's relevant to what is targeting by Starbucks, and they're sharing in that with the patrons inside of the venue. Again, Starbucks, this is the same company in Montclair, California. This is the city of Montclair that's gang stalking. Starbucks, it's number 47250. It's located at 4480 Holt Boulevard in Montclair, California. And they're engaged in the pattern of conduct. They currently have, looks like 5 employees that are engaged in what is criminal monitoring, and this is Starbucks engaging in the conspiracy to commit murder as an entity while they're gang stalking. And they're doing it as a population, they're doing it as a company. All right, this is P.O.C. This is ongoing terrorism that the company is engaging in and is facilitating. And it's deranged behavior, and it is also a criminal pattern of conduct underway by an entity that knows who you are. Okay, there's no strangers. So that malicious pattern of conduct relevant to how the entity engages in criminal summoning, engages in iterations of harassment while they're targeting you specifically. They know exactly who you are while they're targeting you in a specific environment that is supernatural. Okay, in targeting even in its tactics, that's why they're subject to the ways in which the entity is subject to the type of penalties that they are, which includes federal prison and mental asylum. Stalking with impossible light is demonstrating severe mental instability, which every barista inside of this cafe is sharing in, including while a demon is outside, and that impossible light is supposed to be under the guise of driving in the parking lot. No, but they're stalking with light together. Psychopaths are engaging in stalking with light. All right, P.O.C. Alrighty, this is the location where I'm being targeted inside with impossible light activity. And this is in Montclair, California. Here's the fake sign over the Starbucks, which is the direct evidence. When someone's claiming that they're being targeted with impossible light, the fake sign is the direct evidence of that. You don't have to see the impossible light. You're not making it up because of the supernatural character of this right here. This is the Starbucks where they are targeting me specifically where I'm located. That's where the light is flowing across the wall, across the window.
The entity is stalking. This isn't traffic, it's surveillance, don't forget. And so is 9GTO424 while they drive out, Impossible Light flying in, while they drive by, Impossible Light flying in. Remember the demons at the 111 North Vineyard Avenue? She's taking a selfie while Impossible Light. This is the same psychopathic spirit. This is actually a homosexual that's monitoring my vagina. This is an entity that's engaging in the pattern of conduct under a fake sun in Montclair. Okay, and let's remember the fake sun, it's 4:11 p.m. The entity keeps the fake sun through the entrance of the OVITT Family Community Library in Ontario at 215 E.C. Street. Okay, this is the pattern of conduct where the entity is engaging in what is the targeting behavior of what is stalking with Impossible Light, doing so in Montclair, California, while I'm being on the inside of the cafe. The entity is engaging in what is targeting light while you're driving by. 8MTU479 is part of that and is inside making a purchase right now. All right, this is P.O.C. 8VDS413, and this is Wingstop is gang stalking, W.S.S, Hibachi, the Dollar Tree. All of these venues are engaged in that pattern of conduct. The entire venue, in other words, 4430 to 4490. That's a P.O.C. All right, this is the same pattern of conduct shared at every single Starbucks. All right, that's P.O.C. That's absolutely Impossible Light activity, as I've shown. It's underway, and this is a stalker. As I move, maintaining presence in the path. This is a demon. He's not well, neither is his skin, okay? This is gang stalking, and the entity's keeping the fake sun over me. Ongoing satanic pacing. 8XQG458. All right, that's POC. It is 4:12 p.m. It is currently 5:05 p.m. I've been documenting license plates of third parties. That was demonic. Impossible Light coming, and there was not even a vehicle. They're just now pulling up. License 9HNH070. Those are demons that are stalking with Impossible Light that's moving across here when they are crossing path and turning into the parking lot, which is targeting by demons who know where I'm at and know who I am, under what is a fake sun at 5:05 p.m. That's in the city of Montclair, by the way. Over me in the city of Montclair. Okay, this is POC. And there's no angle where any driving under a sun is going to create light shooting through, shooting into on the wall, moving across the curb, which is what happened right now as I was getting up. That's called stalking with light. Those are demons that are stalking, monitoring while I'm inside. The light activity is coexisting with people that are in your path, people who are demon possessed, who are in your path, who are engaging in surveillance. License 8YVG580. This is an ashy, dusty car. As they drive by, Impossible Light shoots at me in there. And that's the proof of it, the fake sun. At 5:05 p.m., the entity is at 5:05 p.m. in Fontana, California, keeping the fake sun over me while I'm at the Fontana Lewis Library. 8MBN is crossing path. 8MBN 998, parking, driving by, being in the drive-thru, being in, opening and closing the door. You've seen the same pattern of conduct by the demons at Starbucks in Ontario, California. I've documented the pattern of conduct at a plethora of Starbucks, and including at this Starbucks where I'm present in the morning. And the fake sun is over me at this drive-thru window where they are targeting me in the same manner, targeting me as a population that is conspiring murder. The program is psychological torture, stalking, ongoing harassment, and terrorism precedes murder committed as an entity. And the fake sun is present at 5 p.m. and there is no circumstance or duration of time or season. Daylight say there is no reconciling what is already the evidence of the fake sun being over me, visible over the demons in the drive-thru while I'm sitting at the same area at this same Starbucks at Ramona and Holt Boulevard, as I captured in 2022, getting on Route 61, Montclair police gang stalking, the entity targeting me with helicopter. It's already on the record. This is POC. I'm just referring you to what is 2025 in Fontana at the Fontana Lewis Library at the same exact time. And this is POC. They're engaging in what is sexual assault and battery and terrorism, stalking and monitoring and targeting with Impossible Light while they're monitoring with communication devices. This is POC. It's currently 5:08 p.m. All right, Montclair police engaging in the same passive-aggressive psychopathic conduct as Ontario police, gang stalking inside a Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue. They're present under the fake sun that I documented, so they're coming in participating. These are the type of gang stalking tactics of criminally surveilling agencies that hide under the guise of law enforcement. This is Montclair police that are engaged in gang stalking. They're under the fake sun, by the way, in 2022 at what is Holt Boulevard and Central at 8 o'clock in the morning. That's the same path that Route 61 took today when the fake sun's over me in the afternoon. That is evidence of these are two demons that are specifically engaging what is legally referred to as psychological torture and unlawful threat bearing guns while they're gang stalking with the company which Starbucks is sharing in that unlawful threat. These are also demons. They're in the engineered light stalking while they are pacing under the guise of picking up their drinks, going to the counter and back. And they're gang stalking while they know that I captured a bunch of license plates and I captured gang stalking underway in Montclair that shares in the criminal conspiracy to commit murder while the city of Montclair is gang stalking me. You're going to look at the demons at Starbucks in Ontario, and you're going to look at the demons at the Starbucks in Montclair. It's the same pattern of conduct regarding the mental illness that is exhibited by malicious psychopaths engaging in the passive aggressive conduct, which is in substance what is an unlawful threat posed by Starbucks as well, while they are gang stalking with corrupt law enforcement. This is P.O.C. Montclair is gang stalking me at the Nissan with the fake sun black helicopter flying over my head at the Montclair Nissan. Montclair is gang stalking me on the freeway under the fake sun that's over my sunroof in Montclair, California, coming from L.A. County back into San Bernardino County. Montclair is gang stalking me not only at this Starbucks. Montclair is gang stalking me at a plethora of venues where I am, including at this intersection by helicopter, where I am present at this Starbucks from morning until afternoon, where the fake sun remained. So that's speaking to what are mentally ill demons that are wearing, again, police uniforms. That's the purpose. Beyond me enforcing my rights, this is the purpose for you to benefit from those that are unfit. They are incompetent. They are psychopathic. While they're engaging in stalking and threatening someone else, and Satan is going around with his fangs hanging out, drooling, bloodthirsty, and is doing so under the guise of a smiling face, wearing that police uniform, not addressing that targeted individual, but in every way engaging in what is psychological torture, harassment, and terrorism, and obstruction of justice. And this is relevant because I am, which is legally relevant, engaged in the process of documentation, which shall be understood under federal law to be the basis whereby the government has engaged in what is an automatic enhancement to all federal charges when you're not already subject to federal prison. Because the nature of the crime, criminal monitoring, is pursuant to surveillance. So then they're engaging in what is surveilling the evidence, meaning you know that you're being documented stalking as a police officer, and then you have the audacity as the government that's conspiring your murder to conspicuously stalk, which is to threaten that American citizen. And that's what these psychopaths just committed in the name of the city of Montclair that's already on the map, gang stalking. In a matter that is already proving that the demon calling themselves a police chief, it's the same legal analysis. The city of Montclair is fully exposed as a domestic terrorist, and that's why I'm able to go to an adjacent city and show you the same exact pattern of conduct, okay? They're engaging in the pattern of conduct while I'm being molested with impossible light, and then these two homosexuals wearing these police uniforms are coming in gang stalking with every other demon that that is documented gang stalking today with license plates, and they will all be prosecuted as engaging in what is conspiring murder with the agency, the Montclair Police Department, which is the state of California. Okay, these are demons that are engaged in that P.O.C. with regard to what is the unmistakable pattern of conduct, and this is speaking to what is demon possession that is indeed statewide. It is pervasive, and the city of Montclair is infected with the same condition. That's affecting the behavioral health. It's a mental health issue, which is speaking to incompetence that is preclusive regarding your ability to even be in law enforcement. They're engaged in the pattern of conduct with a level of impunity that I'm documenting while they are monitoring the evidence, and then those demons walk into and order a drink because they want to stalk and be right next to me. There is no confusion regarding the pattern of conduct. You see the fake sun in the video. You are witnessing that pattern of conduct. The entity's over me with the fake sun in Fontana. The entity's rising and setting the fake sun at OVITT at C Street in Euclid, but yet it's over me at Montclair with these two demons that are obsessed with my vagina in the city of Montclair are coming in to participate in the criminal pattern of conduct. They want to experience, first of all, being in my presence, engaging in the criminal pattern of conduct, but that type of criminal conduct is not a compliment, it's a threat to your life. And this is also, again, the psychopath's means of threatening you, and they're threatening you being present, gang stalking you, wearing that uniform, representing that agency that engages in what is criminal conduct under the guise of law enforcement. That's very threatening, very threatening. Okay, and they do so with regard to American citizens typically not being able to prove that because they're not talking to you, because they're not addressing you, because they're in a place like Starbucks and they're ordering drinks, which they are, again, under the Constitution claiming, oh, they have a right to do that. No, they don't. They're gang stalking. Starbucks doesn't even have a right to be here because they're engaged in criminal surveillance on behalf of the government. Okay, just want to be clear, that's the city of Montclair that's already on the map for prosecution. It's the state of California, which includes the city of Montclair. As P.O.C, you'll see those demons gang stalking inside. It's very pathetic. This is what the city of Ontario is doing inside a Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue. And they're very much fearful of my evidence. That's why they engage in these methods of targeting. And they're doing so as demons that are failing in their witchcraft. The entity is going to be prosecuted in civil and criminal court, all the ways in which Starbucks has shown itself to be an enemy of the United States and also capitalizing off of criminal conduct while they are targeting American citizens, monitoring them, terrorizing them, and harassing them like Starbucks is doing in violation of Title 18, Section 2261A, subsections 1 and 2. License plate 8YXF563 is stalking with a demon that is aiming light in my direction. This is impossible light activity. You'll see that at the opposite end of the parking lot where the Dollar Tree is. These are demons acting together, just like when they're driving out of the drive-thru and impossible light is shooting inside of the restaurant. It's another iteration of the same demonic and mentally demented pattern of stalking with light, which is what the Montclair police have engaged in while they are coming into the cafe to participate in this satanic means of targeting. This is P.O.C. It is currently 6:21 p.m. That is not only criminal monitoring by the city of Montclair, but it is the city of Montclair that is communicating unlawful threat, and that's relevant to the federal prosecution of the city of Montclair, the state of California, and that's not going to be missed in federal court. Okay, the entities engaged in, they want to communicate a threat. They are speaking to what are the communications of enemies of the United States. They're doing so while it is being captured and published in real time, and their sentiments toward the Constitution, towards American citizens who are being defended and advocated for, and who are enforcing their rights, which is what I'm representing. Your attitude toward that is being noted, and when the entity is treated as the terrorists that they are, I just want to be clear, deportation. The city of Montclair fully exposed to that treatment under federal law while they're engaging in that pattern of conduct with this disdain for the Constitution, this disdain for the country, this disdain for the rights of American citizens, and it's shared by everybody residing in the city of Montclair. That's why a whole fake sun is remaining over the Starbucks, over the building that I'm at, as I come to randomly to the city of Montclair, which is specific targeting, knowledge of who I am, including while the demons calling themselves a police department, which is also nothing other than criminal surveillance by the same corrupt entity, going by the name of Montclair Police. They're already in the evidence, and I will be publishing it in 2022, but they are in the evidence of 2024. You can look in the record. These demons are gang stalking me on the freeway, on the roads, and the highways. They're doing so with helicopter activity. I've already documented the gang stalking chief, calling himself a chief. That's a domestic terrorist exposed. It's an enemy of the United States, targeting American citizens like we're in Baghdad. These are domestic enemies that are here in the country engaging in surveillance with a citywide, but what is a statewide amount of what are terrorists that are engaging in this criminal system with the government, the United States government. A bunch of gang stalkers. Gang stalking is what is domestic terrorism. Enemies of the country, enemies of the United States. And that's relevant to that pattern of conduct that Montclair Police is engaging in. Doing so with regard to knowledge of everything that I publish on the internet. And by the way, based on Satan and Satan's pattern of conduct, that is Satan that's very impressed with my work today. And I don't need any compliments from Satan. I'm going to prosecute Satan. And that's the entity that's engaging in coming into Starbucks to participate in gang stalking me in my face. And this, the Montclair Police Department is going to be addressed with regard to federal law in that same manner. I will be prosecuting you in your face. All right, this is P.O.C. It's 6:24 p.m. License plate 2 Edward Kelly 1268. That's Maryland. License 8 Yolanda Larry Frank 730. 7 Xavier David Mary 913. David 24 Uncle 30. That's a paper plate. And the VIN number is the following: 3 George Nancy Bob Apple Bob David Bob 4 Apple Sam 557184. And it expired in April 18, 2025 to be specific. It's a Chevy and it's a paper plate taped on and everything. And the paper plate is again D as in dog 24 Uncle 30. Leonida Builders Inc. California 504857. And the license plate on this vehicle, that is a criminal means of the pattern of conduct, which is criminal activity that Leonida Builders Incorporated is engaging in, maliciously under the guise of appearing as pure and legitimate landscaping services while they're engaged in the malicious pattern of conduct on behalf of the government and is facilitating that government's pattern of conduct. And this is committed in furtherance of murder. The license plate is 20080 Thomas 1. License 17420 Apple 4. License 03935 Bob 1. 7 Charlie Yolanda Sam 430. 9 Mary Kelly Nancy 305. 8 Edward Wendy Xavier 994. Charlie Mary Larry 8281. That's an Arizona license plate. 7 Larry Nancy Larry 408. 8 Frank Xavier Bob 854. Third party group stalker P.O.C. And the license plate on this commercial vehicle is license 9 George 44515. License 6 Zebra Charlie Thomas 544. License 86599 Zebra 2. That's FedEx. That's gang stalking. License 4 Uncle Xavier Uncle 258. Montclair, California. License 8 Barry Larry Wendy 793. License 9 Larry Robert Mary 807. License 8 Thomas Apple George 588. License 6 Sam Charlie Edward 135. License 8 Mary Nancy Henry 049. License 7 George Xavier Paul 655. License 5 Victor Charlie Jack 765. 5 Victor Charlie Jack 765. Yeah, this is the same one in the drive-thru. I got the front and the back of that license. License 9 Thomas Kelly George 286. License 9 Nancy Charlie Xavier 705. Each one driving out, taking their turn, and engaging in what is a sex crime, molesting me with impulse wide. Every single last one. Ongoing sexual violence as an entity. This is sexual violence that is pursuant to what is an unabated program of psychological torture which precedes a homicide that is committed as an entity. License 9 George Thomas Mary 817. 7 Zebra Paul 273. License 7 Victor David Paul 807. License 9 Jerry Yolanda Paul 926. License 8 Paul George Charlie 179. 8 George Larry Charlie 922. License 9 Sam David Paul 696. License 9 Thomas Barry Sam 644. License 8 Sam Apple David 735. License 8 Zebra Robert Nancy 700. License 9 Thomas 0 Jerry 690. License 6 Mary Thomas Apple 135. License 7 George Victor Kelly 674. License 6 David Frank David 324.